Chapter 1555. As soon as Jean Xin said this, Chu Qingyin and the others all turned to look at the high priest. The high priestess chuckled softly. Her voice was a little creepy. She got up and walked slowly to Jean Xin with the help of her skeletal staff. She looked down at him and said, "Do you really want to know? Even if you don't tell me now, I'll find out sooner or later." Jean Xion's gaze was distant and fearless. The high priest nodded approvingly. "You're indeed her son." Just as everyone was trying to guess who the high priest was referring to was, the high priest's tone changed and became sinister again. "Moron boy, what we want is a secret that you're carrying on you. It's about the whereabouts of the Sunblaze sect's treasure." Treasure? Everyone was shocked. Jean Xin was stunned. He then stared at the high priest with raised brows. "When I left North Korea, I didn't bring anything with me. You got the wrong person. Moron boy, it's normal that you don't know. Only the successor of the Sunblaze sect will have this item. You don't need to bring it with you. It's already been there since you were 1 year old," the high priest said confidently. Chu Qingyin raised her brows and sneered. "How can you be so sure that he's the successor of the Sunblaze sect?" Without waiting for the high priest to answer, Eldridge stepped forward and replied, "Let's not talk about anything else first. The young sect master's appearance is 80% similar to the sect master's. It's just that it can't be faked. Furthermore, we have our own treasures that can distinguish the real from the fake. It seems that these people have something that they don't know about." However, this was not the main point. Chu Qingyin's gaze moved away from the high priest and landed on Elder Zhua. She looked up and smiled. "So you've been lying to us from the beginning. When we were in the Sichuan, you should have already sent out a signal to inform Lu Zhang and the others. Then you put on that show together." At this point, both sides had already shed all pretenses of cordiality. There was nothing left to hide. Elder Zhua stroked his beard and readily admitted, "That's right. We originally wanted to trick the young sect master back, but you guys interfered, so we had to change our plan. It's a pity that you guys call yourselves the smartest people in Sichuan in vain. But weren't you still fooled by us? Is that so?" Chu Qingyin smiled meaningfully. Elder Zhua felt that her smile was a little strange, but they were already fish on the chopping board, at the mercy of others, so he did not take it to heart. He turned to Jean Xin and said, "There's a mark on your back. It's the image of a key. As long as you follow the image and create the key, you'll be able to open the door to the treasury. Hidden inside are the weapons and jewels that have been passed down for generations in the Sunblaze sect. It's enough to revitalize our entire Sunblaze sect. That's right. With this treasure, why should we be afraid of the Moon Clan? Sooner or later, we'll make them pay for the humiliation they've inflicted on us." Protector Chui's face was full of anger. Jean Xin didn't know that there was such a mark on his back. It had been there for nearly 20 years. It was simply too shocking. At this moment, "Wait a minute. Don't tell me that you've already been defeated by that whatever Moon Clan? That the Sunblaze sect is no longer what it was in the past? That you've been hiding here and they're like stray cats and dogs? And that this is your hiding place? And that for more than 10 years, you've placed all your hopes on that treasure in an attempt to use it to make a comeback?" Xiao pieced together the fact from their words and his own observations. It had to be said that his ability to observe people's expressions and inference was really top-notch, because someone flew into a rage out of humiliation. "Who do you think you are? Do you have the right to judge the matters of our Sunblaze sect?" Lu Chang angrily pointed at him. If not for the high priest's instructions, he would have slashed him with his blade. Xiao chuckled. "As expected, I guess correctly. You bunch of greedy, lazy, and immoral thieves who only want to rely on external help and never think of your own efforts. You deserve to be trapped here for the rest of your lives." The high priest leaned on his walking stick and said coldly, "So what if you're right? We've already waited for the key to open the treasury. Do we still have to worry about not being able to revitalize the clan? As long as there are results, the process doesn't matter at all." "The process doesn't matter?" Chu Qingyin raised her eyes that were as cold as ice. "So you can disregard other people's lives and think of ways to capture them when you need them and kick them away when you don't need them? If this is the way your religion does things, I feel that it's a blessing for the people to be destroyed like this. You dash, Protector Lu Chong, Chui, and the others were enraged by her words. Protector Chui turned to the high priest and asked for instructions. Since the young sect master has been captured, we can take the key from him. The others can be executed on the spot to prevent them from ruining our plans. The high priest was also enraged by Chu Qingyin's words. However, she had to consider Elder Zhuo's previous request, after all. She suppressed her anger and said to him, "You said earlier that you would spare their lives. Why?" Elder Zhuo was also very angry, but he did not forget his original intention. He immediately said, "These people's identities are not ordinary, but we're too far away from Sichuan and can't use their identities for the time being. However, they have an elite troop called the Fierce Cavalry. If we can control them, then we'll have such a strong military force at our disposal. It'll be like adding wings to a tiger. When the time comes and we have the treasury, we'll be invincible in North Korea." These words moved everyone. After all, Lu Chong, Protector Chui, Elder Gui, and the others had seen the power of the Fierce Cavalry with their own eyes, so they all agreed with Elder Zhuo's words. Moreover, compared to death, sometimes living was worse than dying. The high priest nodded and said meaningfully, "Since that's the case, let's keep them alive for now. If we can use them, that would be the best." He had checked these people's weapons. They were more lethal than any of their Sunblaze sects or even the Tranquil Moon sect's weapons. He was glad that they had planned carefully to hide from these people, which was why they could take them down when they were unprepared. Otherwise, it was hard to imagine how great their chances of victory would be if they fought head-on. "Control us? How do you plan to control us?" A cold voice rang out. Lu Chong and the others were just planning their wishful thinking when they heard this. They did not think too much and directly said, "Of course we'll use poison. When a centipede scatters and the poison takes effect, you'll be better off dead. At that time, you'll definitely kneel and beg us to give you the antidote. No matter how great your background is or how noble your identity is, you'll still become dogs under our feet." "Ha ha, ah." Lu Chong threw his head back and laughed loudly. Before he could finish laughing, he suddenly screamed and fell straight to the ground. There was even a sharp sword in his chest. This unforeseen event happened too suddenly. Before Elder Zhuo and the others could react, they saw the people who should have been lying on the ground, unable to move, stand up one by one. The atmosphere immediately became strange. Chapter 1556. Those who dare to threaten me have already reported themselves to the underworld. Xiao Su stood up, and his black robe fluttered despite the lack of wind. In an instant, his aura filled the entire hall. The younger ones were so afraid that they didn't dare to look him in the eye. Before Elder Zhuo could finish speaking, Chu Qingyin and the others had already stood up and patted the dust off their clothes. It was as if they had just gone for a stroll somewhere. Their expressions were natural and leisurely, and they didn't look like prisoners at all. "What about you? What about me?" Xiao took out a folding fan from his waist and opened it with a whoosh. He covered his face with the fan, revealing a pair of mesmerizing eyes. "We were supposed to play along with you guys, but we couldn't help it. That's why we ended the scene early. That's right. You guys are too uncreative. The moment you came up, you either wanted to beat us up or kill us. You have no professional ethics at all. Shouldn't you be looking for your treasures as soon as possible? You guys are too dilly-dallying. I really don't want to see you bunch of idiots embarrass yourselves here." Sima Jun looked at the people present with disdain, then stretched out a finger and shook it. Guardian Chui said in shock, "That's not right. Weren't you already drugged? Are you referring to that thing that's soaked in water and drunk as tea?" Ji Linyang asked in a gentle and refined manner. Then he replied in an incomparably gentle and refined manner, "I'm sorry, but to us it's really just tea." Elder Zhuo was even more shocked. He looked at Xiao Su and Chu Qingyin in disbelief. "How did you know that we were going back to get drugged?" Jean Exant, who had been silent, said, "It's very simple. You were very anxious when you brought me back, but once we arrived in North Korea, your attitude changed. According to what you said, you should have taken me directly to see the high priest. Unfortunately, you didn't. This doesn't make sense." Elder Zhuo nodded. "It seems that there's a flaw here." "A flaw?" Chu Qingyan shook her head and smiled. You guys are full of flaws. It's not just this place. Elder Gui was a bit indignant. Where else? They thought that they had done a flawless job. Chu Qingyan said indifferently. The ambush at the cave entrance. You didn't expect it. I've obviously interrupted your plan. Based on the fact that the Sun Moon Clan and the Sun Moon Clan are like fire and water, Lu Zhang should have pursued the Sun Moon Clan and not simply chased them away. This is very suspicious. Therefore, we guessed that Lu Zhang's original target wasn't the Sun Moon Clan. However, we only found out the reason today. So it was here. The appearance of the Moon Clan was indeed unexpected, but I didn't want to be the catalyst for you to see through our plan. Elder Zhua sighed. Sima Jun chuckled. Did you think that we started suspecting you from the moment you entered North Korea? Isn't it? Protector Chui asked unhappily. Xiao Yao waved his fan and looked at him as if he was looking an idiot. It was even earlier than this. When you appeared in the palace, my elder brother and sister-in-law suspected you. Except for Jean Xian's identity. To be honest, we didn't believe much of what you said. Protector Chui was impulsive. When he met Xiao Yao's provocative gaze, he couldn't hold it in anymore. However, he was suppressed by Elder Zhua's gaze. Elder Zhua was interested in their words. He didn't seem as timid as before. It was as if he had straightened his back and looked at Chu Qingyan and the others. Although our plan wasn't flawless, it wasn't that easy to find a flaw in it. I'm very curious. How did you see through it? Chu Qingyan smiled faintly. How can people like us, who are used to scheming and plotting, not see through hypocrisy and hypocrisy? You attacked Jean Xian and my child the moment you appeared. I can tell that your character isn't very good. Although you said that Jean Xian was your young sect leader, your eyes never showed any respect for him. Your acting was also too superficial. In North Korea, you were hesitant about your clan's matters. We knew that you were hiding something. Do you think we would believe people who we didn't know the ins and outs of? Moreover, she looked at Elder Zhua and the others. The sarcasm in her eyes made them unable to hide. Outsiders are not allowed to interfere in internal conflicts like yours. However, you didn't object to our participation. I believe that your original purpose was to take Jean Xian away. However, you changed your mind when you saw us. If you didn't have a guilty conscience, you wouldn't have violated the rules of your country. After all, the reason why your country is so mysterious is that outsiders are not allowed to set foot in it. Elder Zhua's face turned red from her analysis. It wasn't that she was too good at it, but that she was using it to make them useless. Chu Qingyan didn't care about the other's expressions after she finished speaking. She turned to the person beside her and said with a smile, "Big ice cube. What do you think of my explanation?" Xiao Su looked down at her. There was no longer any hostility in his eyes. They were unbelievably gentle. He raised a hand to pat her head and smiled. Very good. Everyone felt as if they had been fed a mouthful of dog food without warning. Sima Jun turned her head and threw herself into Ji Linyang's arms. She whimpered, "The dog food is so disgusting." Ji Linyang patted her back gently. "It's okay. We have dog food too." Jean Xian held Xining's hand. Father Chu hugged Mother Chu's shoulders. Xiao Yao, Huoling, and the other single dogs wanted to dig their eyes out. It was too painful. They were being fed dog food left and right. This group of people boasted shamelessly and didn't take the Sunblaze sect seriously. However, they had to admit that they didn't fall for the trap. The high priest was infuriated. He was about to order people to arrest them, but before he could do so, a group of people had already rushed in from outside. Weren't those the so-called fierce cavalry who had been drugged and locked up? With the fierce cavalry's powerful combat ability, these people weren't their match at all. In addition, Huo Ling and the other single dogs had nowhere to vent their anger, so they vented it all on this group of people. The Sunblaze sect people were simply hung up and beaten. Soon, the high priest, Elder Zhua, and the others were subdued. Xiao Su waved his sleeves and sat at the head of the table. Chu Qingyan sat beside him. The others lined up on either side. Every dog has its day. Today it's my day. The people who had been abusing their power earlier were now prisoners kneeling on the ground. You bunch of foreigners invading our North Korea. One day you'll be chased out. The high priest's voice was hoarse. It was as unpleasant as a male duck. Chu Qingyin chuckled. You brought us in. Don't try to shirk your responsibility. All right, Huiling, gag her mouth. It's too unpleasant. The high priest, who had always been high and mighty, was treated like this. His eyes turned red with anger. He was about to curse when his mouth was gagged. Upon closer inspection, it was actually someone's broken sock. The high priest's eyes widened, and he fainted from anger. Chu Qingyin ignored this person. She looked at Elder Zhua and said calmly, Actually, the Sunblaze sect has already declined. Tell us, what are you hiding from us? Chapter 1557. Elder Zhua saw that his men were either captured or killed, and understood that the situation was hopeless. In addition, he had interacted with Chu Qingyin during this period of time, and was very clear of these people's capabilities, so he did not make any more desperate attempts. Since things have come to this, there's nothing left to hide. At this point, Elder Zhua ignored Protector Cui and Elder Gui's advice and slowly revealed the truth. It turned out that Sect Master Murong favored his concubine and neglected his wife was a scheme of the Tranquil Moon sect. Their goal was to make Sect Master Murong lose the hearts of the people first, then use that concubine to steal the Murong family secrets, which were some of the Sunblaze sect's defensive secrets, and then hand them over to the Tranquil Moon sect. Nobody could stop the Tranquil Moon sect from entering the Sun clan's territory, exterminating the Murong family, heavily injuring the Sunblaze sect, and taking over the Sun clan's territory. Back then, Jin Xian and his mother were chased away and escaped the disaster. However, the Tranquil Moon sect did not get the Sunblaze sect's treasure, and suspected that the key was with Jin Xian, so they sent people to hunt him down. The people left behind by the Sunblaze sect, namely the High Priest and Elder Zhua, brought their remaining subordinates to hide, searching for Jin Xian while guarding against the Tranquil Moon sect, and lived a life of hiding. Later, they found out that Jin Xian had escaped for North Korea, so they sent Elder Zhua and the others to search for him. When they returned this time, only the 3 of them were left. The others had all died in the hands of the Tranquil Moon sect's people. Elder Zhua and the others had lured Jin Xian back for the sake of the secret of his treasure trove. Once they obtained the treasure trove, they could revive the Sunblaze sect and take back what originally belonged to them. Then, they could rush to the Moon Clan for revenge. Unfortunately, before they could do all this, Xiao Su appeared halfway and bit the gold. They even thought of a scheme on top of a scheme to coerce Xiao Su, Chu Qingyin, and the others to do things for them. Who knew that in the end, they went for wool and came home shorn. Elder Zhua's confession made everyone feel a little incredulous. Just relying on these people to compete with a powerful sect, they were overestimating themselves. However, what was even more shocking was that the Sunblaze sect had already become an empty shell with no future. Mr. Chu turned his head and patted Jin Xian on the shoulder. He said regretfully, Jin Xian, there's nothing left when you come back. Why don't we go back? We still have a lot of delicious food and fun things at home. Unlike here, it's so shabby and not fun at all. All right, Jin Xian did not have much affection for this place to begin with. If it were not for the fact that he wanted to put an end to his past, he would never have set foot in North Korea. To him, this place had become a nightmare. However, when Jin Xian agreed, Elder Zhua shook his head anxiously. Young sect master, you cannot leave. The hope of the Sunblaze sect is on you. If you leave, then the Sun clan will really be finished. Elder Gay and the rest were also anxious. That's right, young sect master. The Sunblaze sect is your home, and the Murong family was destroyed by the Tranquil Moon sect. Don't you want to take revenge and let your mother and master rest in peace? These words caused Jin Xian to stiffen slightly. His expression changed when he thought of his mother and master. Sima Jun found it very funny. You guys wanted to kidnap Jin Xian when you thought he had no one to rely on. Later, when you knew we were there, you wanted to set us up. Now that you know there's nothing you can do, you want to use morality to force him to do things for you guys. You guys are the good guys, and the benefits are also yours. You guys, your skin is really thicker than the city walls. The heavens are watching. Aren't you afraid of retribution? Sima Jun's words caused Elder Zhua and the rest to turn red. However, they could not refute it because it was the truth. Jin Xian had already regained his composure. He looked at the few people in front of him and did not know what words to use to describe them. Those who bullied my mother and harmed my master back then, I will naturally take revenge on them one by one. Seeing this, Elder Zhua and the rest felt that there was hope and immediately added fuel to the fire. Young sect master, if you want to take revenge, you have to revive the Sunblaze sect first and let it help you. Hearing this, Jin Xian seemed to have heard the biggest joke in the world. After laughing twice, his gaze was cold. What right do you have to plan my path? You guys did not do anything back then and even watched us get bullied by the side. You still have the delusion that I will repay evil with good? I must take revenge, but I don't need to rely on the Sunblaze sect. I have family and friends. Do you think I need you fence-sitters? After Jin Xian finished speaking, he bowed to his master. Master, I may need your and His Highness' help in the following matters. Xiao Su immediately expressed his stance. There's no need to speak as if we're family. Xiao Su never spoke nonsense and always carried out what he said. In the past few years, Jin Xian had been loyal and devoted to his little fellow. Xiao Su had seen it all and had long regarded him as one of his own. These words were to establish Jin Xian's authority and support him. Chu Qingyan nodded heavily. Big Ice Cube's intentions were her intentions. Elder Zhua still wanted to say something, but he was stopped by Jin Xin. I don't want to listen to your flowery words anymore. Xiao Su gave the order, and these people were all taken away and locked up. After the people from the Sunblaze sect were taken away, Jin Xian bowed deeply to his master and Xiao Su. Master, His Highness, and everyone else, Jin Xian is unable to repay your great kindness. Please accept Jin Xian's bow. Before he could kneel, Jin Xian's hand was held by Xiao Su. Xiao Su's gaze was deep as he placed his trust in him. Don't be in a hurry to thank me. It won't be too late to say it after you've taken your revenge. Jin Xian was taken aback. His eyes then rippled with smiles as he nodded heavily. Yes, this subordinate obeys. Chu Qingyan looked at the two of them, and her heart was suddenly filled with warmth. In the past, Big Ice Cube didn't have anyone close to him. Later on, he had her and his parents. Later on, he also started to treat her family and friends as his own. Perhaps it was because he loved her, but she knew that from now on, Big Ice Cube would never be alone again. Chu Qingyan blinked her slightly wet eyes and then lowered her head to teach her son. Did you learn anything from what you've experienced these past few days? Xiao and Kong thought for a moment and nodded. Heaven is watching what we do. We can't do bad things. He must have taken Sima's words to heart. Anything else? Xiao and Kong thought. Also, Baby has to work hard to become stronger so that he can protect himself and the people he wants to protect. Chu Qingyan stroked his head in relief. Not bad. Good and evil will be rewarded in the end. Maintain a positive heart and don't be bullied by others. Also, don't bully others. Do it with a clear conscience. Qingyan's class was on show every day. Xiao Su looked at his wife and son, a smile appearing in his eyes. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps came from outside. Everyone immediately became alert. Could it be that the High Priestess had reinforcements? When everyone was ready to fight, a beautiful face appeared in front of everyone. Master, am I late? Chapter 1558. It was Water Spirit. Everyone was pleasantly surprised. Water Spirit, why are you here? Wood Spirit couldn't help but ask. Normally, she should be in charge of intelligence in the Sichuan Kingdom. Water Spirit scanned the crowd. When she saw that her masters were all safe and sound, she quickly walked in and replied to Wood Spirit. I'm here to protect you, of course. She immediately bowed to Xiao Su and Chu Qingyan. Master, young princess consort, I've arrived with 100 pigeon feathers. We're ready for your orders. Xiao Su nodded. Very good. Xiao Yao was shocked. He sized up Water Spirit and the others and asked incredulously, It's not easy to enter North Korea. There are many checkpoints along the way. How did you get here? Not to mention the mountain gate, The design of the pond was difficult to decipher without knowing the inside story. Could it be that Imperial Brothers' subordinates could fly? This was not only Xiao Yao's question, but everyone else's as well. At this moment, Ji Linyang answered everyone's doubts. Brother Xiao and I left marks along the way. Water Spirit only needed to follow the clues we gave her to find her way in. Realization dawned on everyone. Xiao Yao was even more shocked. He didn't expect Imperial Brother to have a backup plan. No wonder Third Brother said that you shouldn't oppose Imperial Brother. Otherwise, you wouldn't even know how you died. At this moment, Water Spirit suddenly said mysteriously to everyone, "Guess who else I've brought along?" Everyone looked at each other. Was there going to be another surprise? After receiving everyone's curiosity, Water Spirit turned around and smiled charmingly at the gate. "Why aren't you coming out? Haven't you had enough fun playing hide-and-seek for a few years?" Just as everyone was waiting anxiously, a beautiful couple appeared in front of them, hand in hand. The woman's beauty was unparalleled, while the man's elegance was refined. If they weren't Yin Luo and ethereal, who else could they be? Chu Qingyan sprang to her feet in excitement. She hurried over to greet her with tears in her eyes. "Yin Luo, you're finally back." Chung Yin Luo hurried over and held her best friend's hand. Her voice was choked with sobs as she said, "Yes, I'm back. It's such a pity that I missed your wedding and your baby. But don't worry, I won't miss it in the future. It's okay. Back then, you left your hometown to help me save Zhijing. I can't thank you enough." Chu Qingyan felt a little guilty. "Little princess, this is our duty as doctors. You don't owe us anything, but can you let go of Xiao Yan's hand first?" Seeing the young princess consort and his wife being so clingy, Ethereal couldn't stand it any longer and immediately interjected in an attempt to bring his wife back to his side. Chung Yinluo had long seen through his little tricks. For so many years, as long as he could stick by her side, this person would do anything. Now that he was back, he was still acting like this. Wasn't he afraid of being laughed at? She rolled her eyes at Ethereal. "Go away. Go find your brothers and catch up. Don't bother us." Kong Ling could only go find his brothers in an aggrieved manner. Huo Ling saw him looking back 3 times with a reluctant expression and slapped him in a resentful manner. Yo, you're a guy who forgets his friends when he sees a girl." Ethereal retracted his gaze and turned into a male god in a second. He glanced at Huo Ling. "Take your claws away, or I'll apply medicine." The fire spirit glared at him and unwillingly pulled back his claws. He then turned to complain to the earth spirit. "This fellow is still the same. To his wife, he's as warm as spring, but to us, he's as cold as winter. There's no harm without comparison." Turin couldn't help but laugh. At this moment, Ethereal walked forward and hugged Turin. "Brother, long time no see." The earth spirit patted him on the shoulder in response. Huo Ling felt like he had been abandoned by the entire world. He moved to Father Chu's side to seek comfort. "Old man, I'm so pitiful." Father Chu reached out and patted his head. "Good boy." Huo Ling instantly felt the warmth of spring, but he also felt that something was wrong. Why did he feel like the old man was patting by Yutong's triplets? Just as Chung Yinluo sat down, a soft and fluffy ball came to her feet. She lowered her head and saw a young child with beautiful makeup smiling at her. Her heart was bursting with joy as she immediately carried him up and asked, "Qingyan, this must be your little brat, right? He's so pretty." "Yinluo Yi is even prettier," Little and Kong said in a childish voice. Chu Qingyan was very helpless towards this son of hers. Every time he saw a beautiful girl or a handsome guy, he would eagerly go over. Chung Yinluo kissed him heavily. She felt that this child was really too sensible and adorable. She couldn't bear to part with him. Ethereal and Water Spirit both greeted their masters. After Xiao Su asked them a few questions about their experiences on the road, he let them go about their duties and prepare for the upcoming trip to North Korea. However, Water Spirit glanced at the door before she went down. She looked puzzled. Chu Qingyan noticed her strange behavior and couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong?" Water Spirit thought for a moment and replied, "Young Master Daunting and Miss Tao were following us on the road just now. I don't know why they're gone now." Chu Qingyin was very surprised that Dongting and Tao Tao had actually come. She couldn't be more surprised. Why are they here? Water Spirit shook her head. This subordinate doesn't know either. When we arrived at the foot of the mountain that day, we saw young Master Dongting and Miss Tao waiting there. After we explained our purpose, they came with us. Could it be that Dongting decided to come to North Korea after receiving her letter? Chu Qingyin guessed. Ethereal overheard their conversation and came over to help explain. I think I heard young Master Dongting say that he wanted to go sightseeing, and then Miss Tao Tao followed him. Perhaps they're out sightseeing now and will be back soon. I see. Then this subordinate will send Pigeon Feather to find out where they are. Water Spirit volunteered to take on the task. Chu Qingyin nodded. It wasn't safe here. After all, this wasn't their territory, so it was better for them to reunite as soon as possible. At this moment, she couldn't help but look around, including Dongting and the others. All the good friends she had made in her life were basically right in front of her. An indescribable feeling grew in her heart. Xiao Su held her hand. Using his strength and warmth, he told her that he would never leave her. Chu Qingyin tilted her head and looked at his handsome side profile. The corners of her eyes turned up. She smiled and held his hand back. Why do I feel like we're not here to help Jean Xin find his relatives? Instead, we're here as a group for a vacation. As far as the eye could see, Ethereal and Yin Luo were playing around in calm. Sima and Ji Linyang were flirting with each other. Grandfather Emperor and Father Emperor were sparring with each other. Jean Xin and Xining were hiding in a corner and whispering to each other. Turin, with Spirit, Fire Spirit, Water Spirit, and the others were catching up on old times. The scene was lively and heartwarming. It didn't look like they were in a foreign land and had enemies eyeing them covetously. Xiao Su chuckled softly. I'll make up for the honeymoon trip I owe you. Chapter 1559. However, Higashio Motetsu did not walk around like he said, but stood on the roof of a house not far from where Chu Qingyin and the rest were, looking at them from afar. Tao Tao stood beside him with her arms crossed, looking puzzled. Since you want to see her so much, why don't you go with Water Spirit and the rest? Higashio Motetsu smiled. The flirtatious look in his eyes faded. Is it that important whether I see her or not? I miss her at first sight, Tao Tao said without hesitation. Hearing that, he couldn't help but look at her. From what you're saying, I can't tell that you're saying this to your sweetheart. Tao Tao snorted lightly. What? You want me to be jealous? After so many years, if I were to be jealous, the surrounding 100 miles would be filled with the smell of my jealousy. I'm not stupid. After all, it's first come, first serve. You miss her. You like her. That's something I can't control. If I were to be calculative, I would have long been angered to death by you. He felt that her nonsense was quite reasonable and reached out his hand to pat her head. You're a promising child, but let me give you a word of advice. I'm a prodigal son. I won't stay for anyone. So, benefactor, it's better for you to repent as soon as possible. After saying that, he confidently turned around and stepped onto another roof. It seemed slow, but he had already walked far away. Tao Tao looked at his gradually disappearing back view and sighed faintly. How could she not care that he still liked Chu Qingyin? Every time he said Chu Qingyin's name, her heart would ache. Actually, it wasn't that she didn't want to say it, it was that she didn't care. Sometimes, even if she didn't say it, her heart would care the most. But what could she do? First come, first serve. She could only say that she appeared too late and didn't manage to grab hold of his heart earlier. But she wouldn't tell him this, because he wasn't hers yet, and she hadn't won his heart yet. She was already interfering with his life. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't like it. Therefore, she could only swallow the bitterness of the chase alone, and no one could talk to. This was the path she had chosen. No matter how difficult it was, she could only endure it herself. Just as she was in a daze, the purple figure in front of her suddenly stopped and turned to look at her with a frown. Hey, clingy bug, why are you standing there like a fool? Hurry up and catch up. The disappointment in her heart just now dissipated because of his words. She pursed her lips and smiled provocatively. Where are you going? In love, there were times like this. She would cry because of his words, as if she had been abandoned by the whole world, but she would also be overjoyed because of his words, as if she had obtained the whole world. In love, the person who loves deeply will always love more humbly. Even the proud little magic Dr. Tao Tao, who had been spoiled since she was a child, couldn't avoid it. Higashio Motetsu raised his eyebrows. Didn't you say that there's a flower field in front that you want to take a look? If you continue to be so slow, don't blame me for leaving first. Tao Tao's eyes lit up, and she flew up. Don't go, wait for me. Higashio Motetsu pursed his lips. So slow, but he still waited for her to get close before continuing forward. The two figures' clothes fluttered as they walked further and further away. I've been poor for so many years, and all I ask is that you're willing to wait for me when you leave. Dripping water can penetrate a stone, and an iron rod can be ground into a needle. Mountain rocks aren't heartless, and iron rods aren't invincible. Everything is in the silence of time. Sichuan Imperial Palace. The new emperor who had just ascended the throne a few days ago sat in the imperial garden with his beautiful empress. Pang Zhijing looked at the phoenix robe she was wearing and cupped her face in disbelief. Xiao Ho, even in my dreams, I would never have thought that I would become the empress of a country one day. Xiao Ho raised his hand and placed it on her cheek. His thumb brushed the corner of her mouth, removing the crumbs that had accidentally gotten on her while she was eating. However, he didn't take his hand back. He touched her face. It was smooth and delicate, like a peeled egg. He couldn't bear to part with it. And Pang Zhijing seemed to be used to him touching and pinching. But being used to it was one thing, and blushing was another. She gave a low cough, like she was reminding him of his earlier question. Xiao Ho had long seen her every move. Seeing this, the corners of his mouth curled up. His other hand circled around her waist and forcefully lifted her up. After a moment of dizziness, she was already sitting in his arms. Pang Zhijing's face turned as red as a tomato. She grabbed his sleeve and protested in a low voice. Hey. In any case, you're the ruler of a country, and I'm also the empress of country. We can't hug each other in public. Where's the propriety? Can't you see that everyone else is watching? Pay attention to your image. Hey. Xiao Ho seemed to have only heard the latter half of her words, or purposely ignored the first half. He pulled her into his arms. Look around. Pang Zhijing was angry. This person was too much. He didn't listen when she said he would. He was talking, but he was so close. His hot breath was by her ear. It was so itchy. If Xiao Ho knew that his empress was so lacking in emotion, he would probably teach her himself. Even though she thought that, she still turned to look around. Where's everyone? Wasn't he still here just now? Why did it feel like there was only her and the shameless person left in this garden? She searched for a long time. When she turned around to ask him, before she could speak, he blocked all her words. Originally, he wanted to kiss her until she had no energy left so that she wouldn't have to worry about this and that because of their status. But Xiao Ho still couldn't bear it. She might look like a little tiger, but he knew that she was very shy outside. After a light kiss, Xiao Ho finally let go of her. Pang Zhijing glared at him while panting. However, her cheeks were rosy and her beauty was unparalleled. This made Xiao Ho's heart itch, and he kissed her again. In the end, Pang Zhijing couldn't help but cover her mouth. She looked at him proudly. Let's see how he's going to sneak attack her now. Xiao Ho found it funny that she would always do such childish things. She was simply a clown. The self-satisfied Pang Zhijing didn't stay happy for long. She stared with wide eyes as that handsome face came closer and closer. Then, the back of her hand became wet and warm. After he moved back, she finally realized that her face had become hot. As expected, Ginger was the spiciest when it was shameless. You bad Silver, always bullying me. Pang Zhijing covered her mouth with one hand and pointed at him with the other. Her face was red as she complained. However, this kind of feast for the eyes didn't have any deterrence. Instead, it made Xiao Ho want to tease her. This is bullying? Xiao Ho played with her black hair that fell on his knees. His smile was enough to make all living things fall. Then what about tonight? Pang Zhijing was stunned. Only then did she react. She immediately covered her ears with both hands. You pervert!" Before the word pervert could come out, it was swallowed by him. The siege was a success. "Little rascal, you're too stupid. You lost your defense so quickly." While they were entangled, she seemed to hear him softly laughing at her. However, she was already entangled by him to the point where she couldn't refute. She could only sigh again. This ginger was the spiciest when it was shameless. Chapter 1560. When they separated for the last time, Pang Zhijing finally learned to be smart. She hugged his waist and buried her face in his chest. No matter how he coaxed her, she wouldn't come out. Xiao knew that if he continued to tease her, even if Little Rascal was a paper tiger, if she didn't listen to him, he wouldn't be able to get anything good out of her tonight. Because even though Little Ball liked him, her imperial father, no matter what happened, she would always stand on her imperial mother's side. She could escape today, but she couldn't escape tonight. Xiao wasn't in a hurry. He gently patted Little Rascal's back and slowly exhaled the hot air in his chest. "Do you think that with your jumpy personality, you won't be on the same side as the Empress?" This was returning to her question from the beginning. Originally, she had only asked because she was interested. After the torment just now, she had already thrown this question to the back of her mind. Now that he had come back to it, she didn't know why, but she was more interested than before. But she had learned her lesson and didn't raise her head. She replied in a muffled voice in his arms, "Yes, it's unbelievable. What's so surprising about it? Didn't I also become the emperor?" Xiao replied with a smile. This answer was a bit out of her expectations. Pang Zhijing couldn't care about anything else. She raised her head from his arms and tugged at his sleeve. Xiao lowered his head to look at her. "I remember when I first met you. Didn't you want to be the emperor? Why did you change your mind now?" Her eyes were filled with confusion. Xiao smiled. "Just treat me as young and ignorant." "What the hell? Young and ignorant? Are you fucking kidding me?" Pang Zhijing was dumbfounded. He knew that she would have this reaction. Xiao originally wouldn't talk about this matter in the future and hadn't told her. Now that she brought it up, Xiao didn't want to hide it from her. "Back then, didn't you want to persuade me to give up on revenge?" Xiao stroked the stray hair in front of her forehead and continued. "However, I didn't listen to your advice. I directed and acted out a play and pushed you off a cliff. I regret this very much. It's all in the past. Don't blame yourself." Pang Zhijing regretted bringing up this topic, but when she wanted to stop him, he continued. "It was also after you fell off the cliff that I realized that I had already lost the most precious thing in my life. Revenge and seizing the throne had completely lost their attraction to me. People often don't cherish things when they have them. Only when they lose them will they regret it." "Little rascal." Pang Zhijing was stunned by his affectionate analysis. Before she could feel the ecstasy in her heart, she heard him calling her. She looked up and met his eyes. Xiao stared at her. His beautiful and bright eyes were filled with confusion. He was a little absent-minded, but at the same time, he rejoiced. The emotions in his eyes were as deep as before. He said slowly, word by word, "Before I lost you, I didn't think that I still had a world to collapse. I thought that after Mother left, I would no longer be able to learn what it meant to be heartbroken. But when you broke free from my hand, I slowly lost track of you from my life. Only then did I know that I still had a world that collapsed because of you. If the heavens are willing to give me another chance, I'm willing to give up my hatred, give up everything just for you." Pang Zhijing heard what he wanted to tell her. She was his world, a life that he couldn't lose. She was incomparably moved and shocked. It turned out that he cared and loved her more than she had imagined. She reached out and hugged him tightly. "I won't leave you in the future, so your world is still safe and sound." Xiao hugged her back. How could it be safe and sound? His world had already been shattered once. Although it had been fixed, it still needed to be carefully protected. "Little rascal, you're right. If you cling to hatred, you'll lose yourself. It's just like how I've been seeking revenge on the wrong person all these years." Pang Zhijing was incomparably shocked. "What? Wasn't the person who killed your mother Empress Liang and the others?" Xiao revealed a faint smile. There was no warmth in his smile, only ridicule. I never thought that the person who killed my mother and slaughtered the entire Luo family was actually that beast of a father emperor. Pang Zhijing was completely shocked. She had been recuperating these past few years. Although she knew a bit about his recent situation, she knew nothing about these palace intrigues. When she came back this time, she saw that he was getting along well with Xiao Su and the others. She thought that they had abandoned their former enmity and let go of their grudges. She never thought that it was because Xiao Ho's true enemy wasn't Xiao Su, but someone else. From this, she could imagine how much hatred and pain he felt when he found out that his enemy was his father emperor. Xiao Ho, we have to think on the bright side. When I left that year, it was actually a good thing. Although I ruined your plan, it was also because of this that I stopped you from taking revenge. It allowed you to see the truth and recognize who the true mastermind was. Because of this, you gained your own hands and feet. In a lonely life, you had someone to accompany you. You got your revenge, and you had brothers by your side. Isn't this a blessing in disguise? I suddenly feel that everything that happens in life has its own reason, and it's not meaningless. Pang Zhijing seriously analyzed it for him, trying her best to let him forget about the past. Xiao Ho quietly listened. In the end, he planted a kiss on her forehead and gently said, "That's right. You're really the only little fortune in my life." Pang Zhijing reached out to hold his face and said in a serious tone that could not be refuted, "I'm really sorry that I wasn't by your side at that time and let you experience the most painful and dark time alone. So don't blame yourself, all right? The matter of us not being by each other's side is even." Xiao Ho looked in her eyes and was stunned for a moment. Then he realized that she wanted him to completely free himself from that period of guilt. His eyes curved into a gentle smile. All right. Pang Zhijing finally put down the large stone in her heart. She prepared to let go, but unexpectedly, he hugged her even tighter. "Empress, it's getting dark. We should go to bed." The sun was clearly still hanging in the sky, all right? What was this person thinking all day long? "You're ruining the atmosphere too much." She puffed up her cheeks and said angrily. Xiao Ho carried her towards the palace. "It's fine. We can slowly build the atmosphere in bed." Pang Zhijing subconsciously swallowed. How could it be like this? Weren't they just talking about life and ideals? Why did it suddenly develop in that direction? "Your Majesty, this concubine just remembered that I need to go see Little Ball. The eunuch already came by once. Little Ball is learning to play the zither right now. I'm afraid that he won't be able to take care of his imperial mother." "Then, Empress, don't think of any more ideas. Just obediently go to bed with us." "Whoa, this concubine can't do it." Chapter 1561. After cleaning up the entire stronghold, Tu Ling and the others did not find anything of value. It could be seen that the Sunblaze sect was already at the end of its rope. From a flourishing sect, it had fallen to its current state, which made them sigh. After the reorganization, Water Spirit was sent out to scout for information. Turin and Huoling each had their own duties. One arranged for a shadow guard, while the other led a group of bodyguards to protect their masters. Xiao Su and Chu Qingyan led Jin Exin, Yin Luo, and the others out of the stronghold and walked towards the so-called downtown area. Although Elder Zhua and the others have bad intentions towards us, I have to admit that they were able to persevere for so many years under such circumstances. Chu Qingyan sighed. That can only mean one thing. They've been successfully brainwashed by their religion, Xiao Su said, hitting the nail on the head. Chu Qingyan deeply agreed. After knowing the cause and effect, she felt that it was really lucky for the country to be able to go so far under the control of these two sections. The group of four had just walked into the lively street. There were peddlers selling goods on both sides. When they saw that Chu Qingyan and the others were dressed differently, they immediately shouted with all their might. "Have you noticed the way these people are dressed?" Chu Qingyan suddenly heard her big ice cube ask in a low voice as they walked. She blinked. Big Ice Cube wouldn't ask about unimportant things. She immediately observed the people around them and found that in this lively and bustling place, not only were there peddlers, but also the people who came and went. Their clothes were very shabby, and their expressions were very panicked. They didn't fit in with this rich place. Big Ice Cube. Why are the people in this place a little strange? Xiao Su narrowed his eyes. We need to investigate. Jin Xin heard the conversation between his two masters and also looked around. Previously, he only paid attention to whether there were any suspicious people. This was an occupational disease as a bodyguard. Now that he paid attention, he found that these Ri people seemed to be living a very difficult life. However, this was one of the wealthiest towns in the Ri clan. This shouldn't be the case. At this time, Jin Xin saw a group of people walking over from the intersection not far away. They were wearing white and blue striped Yu-clan clothes. He immediately pointed to them. Mistress, look at those people. When Chu Qingyin looked in the direction he was pointing, she saw that the leader of the Moon Clan had kicked over a stall selling chestnuts. He then raised his foot and crushed a pear that was being sold at another stall. The people behind him were laughing so hard that they were convulsing with laughter. They were extremely arrogant. Chu Qingyin noticed that the commoners were angry, but they did not dare to say anything. Even when their things were broken, they did not dare to make sound. Their bodies were trembling violently, and this made the Moon Race people even more arrogant. Along the way, many stall owners suffered. If anyone protested, they would be beaten up. That group of people directly walked into a pawn shop, threw a money bag, and walked out. Then, they walked into a rice shop, carried a few bags of rice, and swaggered out, completely ignoring the cries of the shop owners. If anyone tried to stop them, they would directly kick them. Damn it! Cheng Yin Luo tugged at her handkerchief. Xining suddenly exclaimed, that old man is vomiting blood. As doctors, Cheng Yin Luo and Ethereal naturally couldn't ignore this. They pushed through the crowd and went to support the old man. Ethereal inserted a silver needle into the old man's body to stop the bleeding. He opened his eyes weakly. When he saw Ethereal and the others, he said gratefully, thank you. This is too inhumane. Is no one going to do anything about it? Cheng Yin Luo said angrily as she took out a bottle of medicine from her sleeve. The onlookers shook their heads and smiled bitterly. How can we do anything about it? They're all from the Yu clan. Jin Xion's eyes narrowed. His tone was slightly agitated. So what if they're from the Yu clan? When the people saw Jin Xion's attire, they didn't laugh at him for not knowing the inside story. Instead, they said earnestly, young man, that's because you don't know. The Yu clan and the Sun clan are sworn enemies. Ever since the Sun Blaze sect declined, there was no one to protect us. The Yu clan gradually took over our territory and vented their past grievances on us commoners. They burned, killed, looted, and committed all kinds of crimes. It's not that we didn't fight back, but it was all in vain. Without protection, we're like rootless duckweed. We'll be bullied wherever we go. Moreover, the Yu clan is vicious and cruel. We can't beat them at all. The commoners spoke one after another, as if they had found a tree hole. They told Jin Xin and the others everything that had happened in the past. Those heinous incidents were unbearable for the audience. Then what do you plan to do in the future? Chu Qingyin asked a few of the commoners. She heard them laugh bitterly. What else can we do? We'll just muddle along and live one day at a time. Anyway, with the heavens and earth as a furnace, who isn't suffering bitterly? After saying that, they gradually dispersed. However, their footsteps were light, and they began to repeat their daily routine, like walking corpses. Chu Qingyin could see that these people were no longer angry. They no longer had any hope for life. They've been oppressed and are not treated as humans. If a clan is broken from the roots and there's no new force to replace it, they'll lose their fighting spirit. If this continues, sooner or later, they'll be destroyed. Xiao Su evaluated objectively, as if he could see the Sun clan a few years later. Jin Xin looked around in a daze. The commoners and peddlers had returned to their original places. Some were walking and some were peddling their wares, as if the Yu clan's attack had never happened. He muttered, "Why is it like this? Young man, this is very normal. The Moon clan has imposed a heavy tax on each of our families. If we can't pay, what awaits us is not only a vicious beating, but also the men will be banished to the army and the women will be sold to the brothel. So we have to live. We have to live. The old man's injuries had recovered a lot. With the help of Ethereal, he slowly stood up and said sadly, Chu Qingyan, Cheng Yin Luo, and the others were in disbelief. Cheng Yin Luo couldn't help but curse. Is he still human? He's a devil who eats human flesh and drinks human blood. And us commoners who have lost our protection, aren't we struggling on the verge of death? The old man shook his head, his turbid eyes glistening with tears. Everyone was silent, their hearts full of complicated feelings. At this time, the old man thanked Ethereal and the others again for saving his life. However, he couldn't say much to them. He had just lost a few bags of rice, and he had to find a way to make up for it. Chu Qingyan looked at the old man's back as he left. She couldn't bear it. He was supposed to be enjoying his old age, but he still had to struggle to live. She couldn't help but sigh. At this time, Jean Xian suddenly said to her, Master, this subordinate wants to leave for a while. Chu Qingyan nodded in agreement. Jean Xian immediately turned and left. Looking at his back, she didn't feel at ease. Xiao Su held her hand and said calmly, Let him go. He needs time to digest all of this. After all, he still has feelings for this place. Chu Qingyan sighed softly. These facts were really too cruel for Jean Xian, but it was undoubtedly a kind of growth for him. Chapter 1562. After Jean Xian left, Xining was still worried. She asked for permission and followed him. Cheng Yin Luo and Ethereal also left to walk around. Chu Qingyan looked at the bustling streets. The faces in front of her were expressionless, as if they were repeating mechanical actions. There was no vitality and no hope. She stopped in her tracks. She felt that she could no longer walk around with a clear conscience. What's wrong? Xiao Su asked with concern, sensing her emotional fluctuations. She looked up and saw the people walking around in front of her. She looked at him sympathetically. Big Ice Cube, I feel sorry for them. Do you want to save them? Xiao Su was silent for a while. But we're not saviors. Chu Qingyan looked at him. Xiao Su continued. We're from Sichuan. We belong to another country. It's not good for us to interfere in other people's political affairs. Unless what? She asked quickly. Xiao Su smiled faintly. Unless we have a good reason to act. A good reason to act? Chu Qingyan was stunned. Then, an idea flashed through her mind. Jean Xian. That's right, it's trust. Xiao Su smiled faintly. That's right. As long as he says that he wants to help these people, we have a good reason to act. Otherwise, we can only help him find his enemies and take revenge. Chu Qingyan was elated, but she soon felt dejected. She rubbed her nose. But we don't know if Jean Xian will think the same way as us. Xiao Su patted the back of her hand and said calmly, Don't worry. He has the same blood as them. He'll feel the same way. He just needs time to self-regulate and get over it. She was relieved that Big Ice Cube had said so. Actually, she wasn't a sentimental person. It was just that she couldn't help but want to stand up when she saw some unfair and inhumane things. If everyone stood by and did nothing, what would happen to the world? She just wanted to help when she saw injustice. Xiao Su held her hand and walked back. Let's go back. She nodded heavily. All right. The two outstanding figures gradually disappeared into the distance. Two figures appeared where Xiao Su and Chu Qingyan had been standing. I have to admit that your love rival is better than you in terms of IQ, EQ, and eloquence. Tao Tao crossed her arms and sneered. Higashio Motetsu didn't take her words to heart at all. He rubbed his chin, thinking about something. Seeing that he didn't react for a long time, Tao Tao thought that she had stepped on his sore spot and was a little annoyed. She shouldn't have tried to poke at his sore spot, but her heart was upset because he still cared so much about Chu Qingyan. The two conflicting emotions in her heart made her very depressed. She lifted her foot and stomped on his foot. Higashio Motetsu didn't notice and was stepped on by her. His heart was filled with anger, and he reached out to grab the little witch who was about to turn and leave. Tao Tao angrily wanted to throw him away, but she didn't expect to be caught by him as soon as she turned around. He dragged her all the way to the side. She struggled to break free from him, but he was too strong and couldn't move her hand at all. She was a little discouraged. Looking at his back, he seemed to be emitting an aura that couldn't be ignored. His whole body seemed to be suppressing his anger. She remembered what she had done just now and couldn't help but feel guilty. She could only stumble and let him drag her along, until they walked into a small alley. He threw her against the wall. Her elbow hit the wall, and she gritted her teeth in pain. But she didn't dare to make a sound because she knew that he was on the verge of anger. She bit her lip and looked at him. At this moment, Higashio Motetsu's 2 hands were on either side of her, confining her in this small space to prevent her from escaping later. His eyes were staring at her. The distance between the two was so close that their breaths mingled. But Higashio Motetsu, who was at the top of his head, didn't notice how ambiguous the two of them were and how their posture made one's imagination run wild. Tao Tao, who was worried that she had angered him, didn't notice it either. She was wholeheartedly thinking about how to reduce his anger to the minimum. Tao Tao, have you had enough? Higashio Motetsu gritted his teeth and glared at her. Tao Tao's momentum weakened, and she couldn't say anything for a long time. But at this moment, Higashio Motetsu, who had fainted from anger, didn't want to get any reason from her. He directly fired at her. How long are you going to be unreasonable for? These words seemed to ignite the grievances that Tao Tao had felt when she chased after him these days. She suddenly raised her head and questioned, I'm unreasonable? How am I being unreasonable? Was it wrong for her to like him? Along the way, she threw away her ladylike modesty and followed him around. Higashio Motetsu, you stinky man. You're too bad, too bad. Seeing that she was suddenly like a cat with its fur standing on end, Higashio Motetsu's anger hadn't subsided yet. He felt that it was beneath his dignity to argue with a girl, so he wanted to straighten up and ignore her. But inadvertently, he saw that her eyes were slightly red. He suddenly froze, as if something in his heart had been touched. This feeling didn't seem unfamiliar to him. He suddenly felt a little upset and forgot to withdraw his hand. In the end, he sighed. Okay. You're not in the wrong. You're not unreasonable. Okay? When Tao Tao heard his perfunctory tone, she felt even more wronged, and her eyes reddened even more. What do you mean? Are you pitying me? Are you patronizing me? You bastard. Higashio Motetsu took a deep breath. Sure enough, no matter who you offend, you shouldn't offend a woman. But when he saw her baring her fangs and brandishing her claws, he couldn't bear it. He didn't know when his anger had dissipated. He controlled his temper and softly coaxed her without him noticing. Okay, why are you throwing tantrum? You're already an adult, but you're still acting like a child. I won't hold it against you for stepping on me and throwing a tantrum at me for no reason. At this time, Tao Tao felt that he was no longer angry. If it was according to their past interactions, this matter would be over. But she still felt wronged and climbed up the pole. She puffed up her cheeks and complained, But you yelled at me just now. Higashio Motetsu heard this and felt a headache coming on. So in the end, he was the victim in the wrong? I apologize. I won't be angry with you in the future, okay? Tao Tao pouted. This matter can't be let go just like that. You have to compensate me. Compensate? Higashio Motetsu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He was the one who was stepped on, and in the end, he still had to compensate her. But for some reason, when he saw her like this, he couldn't get angry at all. He raised his eyebrows in amusement. How do you want me to compensate you? Tao Tao rolled her eyes and said straightforwardly, I don't want anything. Hug me. What? He thought that he had heard wrongly and stared at her in disbelief. Hug. Tao Tao's voice had the soft and adorable sound of a kitten. Higashio Motetsu looked at her moist eyes, and his heartbeat suddenly became chaotic. Chapter 1563. He gave a low cough and looked away, trying to find a topic to change the topic. Are you hungry? Let's find a place to eat first. As soon as he said that, Tao Tao opened her arms and hugged him, burying her face in his chest. His hand was still on the wall, and the two of them were so close. This hug caught him off guard. The girl's soft body was pressed against his firm chest, and her unique fragrance made his body stiffen. Tao hugged him tightly. This was the only time she had succeeded after so many sneak attacks. Higashio Motetsu, you're too bad. You're always bullying people, she complained in a low, muffled voice. Higashio Motetsu was completely stunned. He wanted to push her away, pry her away, or pull her away by her collar. Hearing her words, he blurted out without thinking. How did this young master bully you? He was a man, and the thing he disdained the most was to bully girls. Who told you not to answer me? She was referring to when they were on the street. Higashio Motetsu thought for a long time before he understood what she meant. This young master was thinking about something at that time. How could I care about your random thoughts? I don't care. You were even fierce to me just now. Tao Tao rubbed against his chest, not giving up. He really didn't know what to do with her. His hands were stiff at both sides. He didn't know whether to push her away or not. Let go of your hands first. We can talk things over. Tao Tao snorted. I have nothing to say to you. Don't talk. I'm righteous. Higashio Motetsu was angered by her words. Luckily, they were in a remote place. Otherwise, they would have attracted a crowd. Forget it. He was a magnanimous person. He wouldn't argue with her. Being hugged wouldn't hurt a piece of flesh. However, when he was really silent, she was dissatisfied again. How hard do you want me to work for you to look at me? Tao Tao asked in a righteous manner. But there was a faint loneliness that was hard to detect. When these words came out, he was stunned again. He couldn't answer this question. Why aren't you talking? The person in his arms impatiently asked. He sighed. Didn't you forbid this young master from speaking just now? Let's see who can stand you in the future. The person in his arms became restless. I'll cling to you. I'll cling to you. In order to prevent her from saying anything else, he deliberately threatened. If you don't hug me properly, I'm leaving. Finally, they settled down, and the world became peaceful again. However, she tugged at his clothes as if she was venting her dissatisfaction. She tugged at his clothes like a child who could not get her candy and was expressing her grievances. He sighed faintly in his heart, and a faint light flashed across his phoenix eyes. Then, as if he had compromised, he slowly reached out and hugged her back. All right, stop fooling around. This young master will take you to eat roast duck later. Tao Tao was stunned for a moment before the corners of her mouth curled up. What an unexpected gain. I want to eat too. If you're not afraid of getting fat, it's up to you. The setting sun elongated their shadows, intertwined with each other, as if they would never be separated. Sometimes, compromising was the beginning of the fall. It was just that whether they could walk together and whether they could walk to the end, it was all unknown. On the other side, Jinshin walked up to a large tree by himself, his entire being immersed in a deep sense of conflict. Hearing the footsteps behind him, Jin didn't turn back and asked, Shining, do I look like a coward? Shining, who had been worried about him, was stunned when she heard his question. Then, she immediately shook her head, realizing that he couldn't see, and said firmly, No, you're not a coward. In my heart, you've always been a man of indomitable spirit. Is that so? But I don't think I'm as good as you say. I'm avoiding responsibility and making everything develop in the worst direction. The scene he saw just now was like a flash of light in front of him. He raised his hand and slammed it on the tree trunk. Leaves fell on him, and the pain on the back of his hand couldn't reduce the guilt in his heart. Shining screamed and ran to his side. Seeing that the back of his hand was bleeding, she quickly took out a handkerchief and carefully bandaged his wound. As she bandaged it, she complained, Even if you're unhappy, you can't vent your anger on your own body. Jean Xian looked at Shining blankly. Because other than this, I don't know what else to do. After Shining finished bandaging his wound, she looked up and fixed her gaze on him. Jean Xian, there are many things I don't understand, but I know that every injustice has its perpetrator and every debt has its debtor. The lives of the Japanese people now are not caused by you. You don't have to bear the responsibility for others. But the blood of the Murong family flows in my body. I am a member of the Japanese people. My mother taught me when I was young that when I grew up, I had to bear the responsibility of protecting the people. I had to treat them well and love them. But Jean Xian clenched his hands and said hatefully, But because of my family's revenge, I didn't want to return. I let the Yu clan bully the people. Even if I'm back now, I only care about revenge. I don't want to bear the responsibility that originally belonged to me. If I'm not cowardly and selfish, then what am I? Xining immediately pulled his hand. Seeing the wound open again and staining the handkerchief red, her eyes gradually became red. Jean Xian, is there any use in blaming yourself? Is there any use in hurting yourself? Can this drive the Yu clan out and let the people live a peaceful life again? Jean Xian pursed his lips and looked at her, gradually calming down. If it can't, then think of a way. How can we reduce the damage to the minimum? How can we save the people from the fire and water? I'm stupid. I'm not as smart as Master to help you solve the problem. I can only tell you that no matter what happens, I will stand by your side and support you. I won't leave you. Xining held his uninjured hand and said sincerely. Jean Xian's heart was incomparably moved. He held her hand back. Thank you, Xining. You're not stupid. Compared to me, you're much smarter. But I didn't help you with anything. Xining was a little embarrassed. No, you've already helped me. I know what to do now. Jean Xian looked in her eyes and said solemnly. Is that so? Xining was a little excited. Then what do you plan to do next? We have to go back and find Master. Jean Xian didn't say it out loud as he held her hand and walked back. Xining nodded. Okay, but when we go back, I have to ask Miss Chang for some medicine and bandage it for you first. Otherwise, it will leave a scar. Jean Xian didn't care. It doesn't matter. I'm not a girl like you. Xining shook her head and nagged. No, if there's a scar, you won't look good holding a sword. She didn't understand the hatred of the country. She was only worried about his injuries. Jean Xian wanted to say that the scars on a man's body were more like meritorious deeds, but seeing her so nervous, he let her be. Chapter 1564. When Jean Xian knelt in the hall and stated his intention to reclaim the Japanese territory, Chu Qingyan couldn't help but look at her big ice block. Sure enough, everything was as she had expected. Jean Xian would make such a decision. However, she was a little puzzled. She was clearly closer to Jean Xian than he was. So why did the big ice block understand Jean Xian better than she did? What Chu Qingyan didn't understand was that sometimes men understood men better. Moreover, in order to eliminate all the uncertain factors around her, Xiao had spent some time to understand Jean Xian. Otherwise, he wouldn't have allowed Jean Xian to enter the court as an official. If this is your decision, we won't object. But what do you want us to help you with? Xiao asked directly. Jean Xian kowtowed to the ground. This subordinate boldly requests that Master and His Highness can lend this subordinate a hand. This subordinate is alone in this body, only this life. With this as an oath, no matter what the result is, this subordinate is willing to dedicate this life to Master in this life, the next life, and a life after that. This oath was very heavy. Chu Qingyan and Xiao Su couldn't help but look at each other. At this time, Xining also stood up and knelt beside Jean Xian. She kowtowed. Master, this servant also boldly requests that Master and His Highness can help Jean Xian. This servant is willing to do anything to repay you. Jean Xian turned his head, his eyes slightly red. Xining, thank you. Xining smiled. Between us, is there still a need for thanks? Jean Xian didn't answer. He just reached out and held her hand. Chu Qingyan did not expect the usually shy young lady to be so willing to go to such length for Jean Xin. She turned around and teased big ice block. Is this what they mean by a friend in need is a friend indeed? It turns out that this person hasn't even married yet, but she's already helping an outsider. Xining blushed. Master, Jean Xian isn't an outsider. Yes, he's not an outsider. Chu Qingyan continued to tease her. Xining shyly moved behind Jean Xian and covered her face, causing Chu Qingyan to laugh loudly. Xiao Su looked at this unreliable wife of his and shook his head. He raised his hand and gestured for the two of them to stand up. Jean Xian, your master has already considered this matter for you. It's just that it's not easy for her to bring it up. After all, we're not citizens of North Korea. Only if you bring it up yourself can we help you with the plan. This isn't as simple as your previous family feud. This involves politics and the people's livelihood. Chu Qingyan also regained her composure. She nodded and continued her ice block's words. Jean Xian, I'm very happy that you're willing to take on your responsibilities. Even a hot-blooded person wouldn't be able to tolerate such a cruel side of the Yu clan, let alone a Japanese. Although you've lived outside for more than 10 years, the Japanese blood still flows in your veins. I'll leave my words here. No matter what help you need, Her Highness and I are willing to support and cooperate with you. So, you can rest assured and boldly do it now. Jean Xian looked emotional. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Her Highness. Xining was also emotional and grateful. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Her Highness. But there's one thing, Xiao Su said, attracting everyone's attention. He locked his gaze on Jean Xian and said slowly, This matter requires you to take on the responsibility yourself. Since you want to take responsibility, then show us results. Jean Xian nodded heavily. This subordinate understands. I will definitely not disappoint you. Chu Qingyan smiled with relief. Well, since we've decided to take back everything that belongs to the Japanese, then we have to prepare for battle. What do you plan to do next? Jean Xian didn't hesitate. This subordinate will need the help of the High Priest and the others. After all, they've lived here for many years and know the Yu clan the best. We're new here, and there are many things that they don't know. Chu Qingyan was slightly surprised. I remember that the High Priest is also one of your enemies. Are you going to let him out so easily? Jean Xian said firmly. Master, in the face of national interests, personal hatred can be put aside. Moreover, this subordinate has the same goal as them, so I believe that they won't dare to play any tricks. Xiao Su's eyes flashed with admiration. He really didn't misjudge him. Hearing this, Chu Qingyan smiled faintly. She felt that Jean Xian had really grown up and could take charge of things on his own. She was very happy. Half an hour later, the High Priest and elders were brought to the hall. Jean Xian sat at the head of the table. Xiao Su and Chu Qingyan retreated to the second row. On the other side sat Sima Jun and Ji Linyang, as well as Xiao Yao, who had come to join the fun because he had nothing to do. The High Priest and elders didn't know why Jean Xian had them brought here. They looked at him warily. Morong Yinxian, what do you want to do to us? I'll say it right here. If you want to kill us or torture us, do as you please. Why don't you just stab us and give us a quick death? Although the High Priestess was already an old woman, her awe-inspiring righteousness showed that she had been a fierce person when she was young. Elders motioned for the High Priest to calm down and said to Jean X, Young sect master, why did you call us here? After interacting with them on the way here, Elder Zhua felt that he had a certain understanding of them. They wouldn't have brought him here for no reason. Moreover, if they really wanted to kill him, they would have done so long ago. Chu Qingyan felt that Elder Zhua was quite perceptive. She turned to ask Jean Xian how to answer. Jean Xian said calmly, We went out for a walk today and discovered some things. Now, let's hear what you have to say. What is the situation with the Yu clan and the Ri clan? Why doesn't the Yu clan treat the Ri clan's people well? The High Priest and Elder Zhua looked at each other in surprise. They thought that Jean Xian didn't care about the Ri clan situation at all. They didn't expect him to take the initiative to bring it up today. Elder Zhua was afraid that he would change his mind and hurriedly answered. Ever since the Murong clan's accident more than 10 years ago, the Yang Yin sect has been in decline. A few years ago, the Yu clan attacked the Ri clan and defeated us in one fell swoop. After occupying our territory, we were no longer able to protect the people. The High Priest also calmed down and continued Elder Zhua's words. The Yu clan and the Ri clan have been like fire and water for hundreds of years. They see each other as enemies, so the Yu clan occupied our territory. It's fortunate that they didn't kill the Ri clan's people. It's just that every time we see them bully our people, we can't help but want to rush into the Hidden Moon Palace and cut the culprits into pieces. Elder Zhua sighed. Young sect master, you should have seen the Yu clan's people today. How cruel their methods are. It's not just what you see on the surface. spiritual suppression and martial suppression. In the long run, the Ri clan will be destroyed sooner or later. Jean Xn pursed his lips, his expression extremely ugly. The high priest snorted, Elder Zhua, why are you saying so much to him? He won't help us. Elder Zhua looked at Jean Xn and shook his head helplessly. What if we're willing to help the Ri clan drive the Yu clan out? The high priest and Elder Zhua were stunned when they heard the words true faith. Chapter 1565. Are you serious? Elder Zhua asked in disbelief. Perhaps it was because happiness had come too suddenly. Jean Xin raised an eyebrow and calmly said, A gentleman's word is as good as a whip. Good. With young sect master and these friends, our revival of the Sunblaze sect is just around the corner. Elder Zhua was so happy that he danced. It was hard to imagine that someone so old could still be so nimble. No, we don't want to revive the Sunblaze sect. We just want to take back the Sun clan's territory that the Moon clan has taken over. That's all. Ji Linyang's words were like a bucket of cold water poured over them. Elder Zhua and the high priest looked at each other in a daze. In the end, they seemed to give in. All right, as long as we're no longer suppressed by the Moon clan, we can do whatever we want. After reaching an agreement, Jean Xan brought Guardian Shui, Elder Gui, and the rest of the sect's core members over. Elder Zhua explained the situation and everyone was overjoyed. At this moment, Jean Xin waved his hand and someone brought over a plate with a few jade bottles on it. The high priest was shocked. What are you doing? Sima Jun walked over and weighed the jade bottles in his hand. His expression couldn't be more normal. Of course, it's for the sake of mutual trust. You've done a lot of evil in the past, and your trust in us has already dropped to the bottom of the sky. So, in order for us to have a happy cooperation, please take this medicine. When we're done, we'll naturally give you the antidote. During this period, we'll give you a medicine every month to ensure that the poison doesn't act up. However, if you betray us or violate our agreement, I'm sorry, but you'll die in the most painful way. After all, this begging for death pill was developed by Ethereal and the rest after many years of research. Its effects are extraordinary. You're going too far. Guardian Shui was an impatient person. He yelled, very opposed to this method. We have no choice. If you don't take this medicine, our cooperation won't be successful. Sima Jun shrugged. In the end, it was Elder Zhua who comforted his people and calmly accepted. All right, we agree. With that, Elder Zhua poured out a pill from the bottle and swallowed it. The high priest didn't say a word and followed closely behind. Protector Chui and the others wanted to stop them, but it was too late. Elder Zhua said earnestly, Don't forget what we've been doing all these years for. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone looked at each other. In the end, they gritted their teeth and took the medicine bottle, taking it one by one. Chu Qingyin secretly nodded. It seemed that these people would not have any disloyalty in a short period of time. Moreover, these people were united enough to ensure efficiency. After reaching an agreement, a large round table was placed in the middle of the hall. An enlarged map of North Korea was placed on top of the table. The cities were marked out in detail, and even the mountains and rivers were clearly depicted. The Sunblaze sect left behind a few Elder Zhua and a few others, while the others waited outside for orders. Right now, we are in a remote area of the Sun clan. The mountains are steep, and because of this, it will be difficult for the Yu clan to catch us, Elder Zhua said as he pointed to the top of the mountain. I want to know, there were so many people in the Sunblaze sect back then. Are you really the only ones left now? Chu Qingyin asked. The high priest revealed a sorrowful expression. After we were heavily injured by them, many of our people died or were injured. In addition, there was a heavy snowfall that happened once in 100 years. Many of us froze to death on the way out. Now, we only have about 300 people left. 300 people? Chu Qingyin and the big ice cube looked at each other. With so few people, compared to the Yu clan, wasn't it like hitting a rock with an egg? Jean Xin raised a question at this time. You said that everyone was separated in the battle back then. Maybe they're just hiding like you guys. Can we send out a signal to gather those who are stranded outside? As soon as he said this, everyone felt that it was feasible. Okay, we'll start with the nearest cities. These 3 cities are close to the mountains, and the terrain is difficult to attack. 2 of these cities are close to the sea. If we guard the docks, it won't be easy for them to counterattack. So our targets are these 5 cities. Perhaps the higher-ups didn't pay much attention to this, so there were fewer soldiers stationed in these remote cities, so their chances of success were higher. After Jean Xian finished speaking, he subconsciously looked at his master. Chu Qingyan smiled and encouraged him. The fierce wind cavalry and the howling cavalry will be under your command. We believe in you. Xiao Su nodded. Jean Xian nodded, full of gratitude. Then, he began to distribute the tasks. Basically, everyone present received their tasks. Sima Jun and Ji Linyang expressed that they hadn't exercised in a long time and wanted to participate. With these 2 great helpers, it was even more exciting. Only Xiao Yao took 2 steps back while waving his fan. He chuckled and said, "I'm only here to sightsee. This kind of fighting and killing doesn't suit a refined person like me. I won't participate." Chu Qingyan smiled very amiably. "Is that so? Why don't we go to war? You can have fun by yourself." As she spoke, she called Xining over. "Send Xiao Yao his salary and leave. Don't forget to prepare a horse for him. If he doesn't have a means of transportation, his legs will be tired." Xiao Yao blinked. No way, so cruel? However, the cruelest thing was yet to come. Xiao Su waved his hand. "No need. Just throw him out." Xiao Yao was stunned. Chapter 1566. As soon as the planners came up with a plan, they began to take action. Not only were the Xiao cavalry good at attacking, but they were also very good at hiding their tracks and ambushing. With them around, many of the operations went very smoothly. Unknowingly, those cities and towns had been stolen and swapped, and no one knew. A few days later, everyone gathered in the largest city that they had recovered. The speed at which we broke through the city this time is even faster than before. It's simply unbelievable. I've lived for so many years, but I've never experienced such a smooth siege. Elder Zhua was extremely excited. Previously, he only thought that the Xiao cavalry was a disciplined team with strong martial arts, but he did not expect them to be so good at fighting. Their combat ability could simply crush the elites of their glory days. If not for the fact that Xiao Su only brought a few hundred people this time, he felt that sweeping through the entire North Korea would not be a problem. Xiao Yao waved his fan. When he heard Elder Zhua's sigh, he sneered. "You think it's fast? Then you haven't seen my royal sister-in-law break through a city with beast soldiers. That's not an hour, it's a matter of minutes." Beast horde? Under Xiao Yao's signal, Elder Zhua and the others looked at the few snow wolves lying on the ground with their bellies exposed as pillows for Xiao Ankong. Their eyes were filled with suspicion. Chu Qingyan received their gazes and smiled disapprovingly. "Don't listen to his nonsense. There's no such thing." Xiao Yao shrugged and closed his fan. "In any case, don't have any ill intentions. Otherwise, the consequences will be." He made a tearing motion and laughed loudly. Elder Zhua and the others looked at the snow wolves, then looked at Chu Qingyan. For some reason, they did not dare to treat Xiao Yao's actions as a joke. This was because on the way to recover the city, they had already broadened their horizons and witnessed the true strength of this group of people. In the past, they had only seen the surface, and none of them were to be trifled with. Perhaps what Xiao Yao said was true, and the thoughts in their hearts were immediately extinguished. After Elder Zhua and the others left, Hualing giggled and said, "Lord, were you scaring them just now? Those stubborn fellows have been contacting people behind our backs. Although it's all under our control and doesn't matter, we still have to show them who's boss. Otherwise, they won't know their place." Xiao Yao raised his eyebrows and lamented, "You can never judge a book by its cover. Who knows if they will bite us in the back?" Turin nodded. "Lord is very thoughtful." Xiao Yao proudly raised his chin. "That's right. I'm so smart. It's a waste of my talent to stay here." Chu Qingyan and the others were amused. Xiao Yao even looked at his imperial brother very proudly, his face begging him to quickly praise him. Xiao Su did as he wished and nodded. It is indeed a waste of talent. It seems that I should have left the abdication edict to you. What did it mean to collapse in a second? He was talking about Xiao Yao. His proud smile froze at the corner of his mouth, and then it slowly shattered at a speed visible to the naked eye. He chuckled, laughing as he retreated behind the Emperor Emeritus. What is Imperial Brother saying? This subject brother is so stupid. How can I bear such a heavy responsibility? It's better to leave this kind of brain work to OL-san. Otherwise, what if I squander away the foundation that our Shishuan has built up over the years? That's why I don't want to waste talent at all. It's fine as long as this subject brother has a place to display his remaining strength. Like Gene Xian's place, it's already very good. Before he finished speaking, the hall roared with laughter. Xiao Yao continued to chuckle and hid behind the crowd. It was fine as long as he wasn't seen by Imperial Brother, who wanted to be that damn emperor. Xiao Su didn't argue with this idiot of a younger brother and discussed the next step of the plan with Gene Xian. Xiao Yao sighed in relief. However, his imperial grandfather knocked on the top of his head. Useless. He covered his head and stomped his feet to complain. Imperial grandfather, can you not knock my head at the slightest disagreement? Grandson will be knocked silly by you. Have you ever been smart? The Emperor Emeritus directly hit him in the heart. The corner of Xiao Yao's mouth twitched. Imperial grandfather, your words make grandson very sad. As he spoke, he even made a gesture of holding his heart. Go, go, go. The Emperor Emeritus humphed. You have no ambition. This emperor has seen it before. You don't have the heart or the guts to do anything. You don't try anything or fight for anything. Do you really plan to live the rest of your life in mediocrity like this? Xiao Yao stopped hitting him and didn't hold his heart. He was simply stupid, all right? How is grandson mediocre? Look at the shops under grandson's hands. The tunnels are dug, and they're both civil and military. How is it mediocre? The Emperor Emeritus still had a look of disdain on his face. Then when your imperial brother asked you to sit on the throne, why didn't you? Xiao Yao was simply about to be angered to death. Suddenly, he thought of something and laughed mischievously. Then why didn't Imperial Grandfather continue to be the emperor back then? Why did you throw the Imperial Jade Seal to Imperial Father and pat your butt and leave? The Emperor Emeritus was speechless. This unfilial grandson really had a sharp tongue. You don't respect your elders. Imperial Grandfather, you can't win an argument, so you hit me again. You can't be like this. Xiao Yao hugged his head and scurried around. The Emperor Emeritus elegantly withdrew his hand. This is called not allowing grandfather to set a fire and not allowing you to light a lamp. Xiao Yao directly withered in the wind. Whoever wanted to be the emperor could be the emperor. Don't do to others what you don't want others to do to you. Be reasonable, everyone. On the streets of the town, two figures shuttled through the sea of people. Is that Tongholu? I want to eat it. I want to eat it. Hurry and help me buy it. Tao Tao pointed in front of her and said excitedly to the person beside her. Higashio Motetsu didn't even bat an eyelid. What's so good about that kind of thing? It's just to trick a child. I'm a child. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Childish. If you want to eat, go buy it yourself. I'm going to the front to take a look. Higashio Motetsu continued to walk forward. However, no matter how many steps he took, it was as if he was still in the same spot. He frowned and turned to look at the person tugging at his sleeve. He looked at him stubbornly. Isn't it just a Tongholu? Can't you buy it yourself? Tao Tao swallowed her saliva. I didn't bring money. He was stunned. He didn't expect this reason. He stiffly said, wait. After saying that, he squeezed into the group of children. According to the way they interacted in the past, he would often tease her. She didn't expect him to buy it for her so readily. Tao Tao felt that it was inconceivable. Could it be that she had melted his heart? Just as Tao Tao was immersed in her fantasy, a wooden stick was suddenly stuffed into her hand. To be precise, it was a stick filled with Tongholu. Tao Tao was stunned. Beside her, Higashio Motetsu sighed in relief. As if relieved of a heavy burden, he said, There, your Tongholu. It was almost trampled to death by that group of children. Tao Tao's face darkened. She finally exploded. I only wanted one or two. Are you trying to kill me by buying so many. When she shouted the first word, he immediately flew 3 feet away. He dug his ears inside his heart. This lioness from Hudong's roar was really getting better and better. He didn't know which unlucky guy would marry her in the future. If Tao Tao knew what he was thinking, she would probably hit him with a stick. How embarrassing. Take it yourself. If you dare to throw it away, I'll cry here and complain that you bullied a weak little girl like me. Let's see who will believe you. Higashio Motetsu's head was full of black lines. Weak little girl? She could kill someone with a few silver needles without spilling blood. Okay? In the end, he was the one who carried the stick for her. Chapter 1567. Uncle, can you sell us a stick of candied haws? Higashio Motetsu was walking when he suddenly heard someone calling out to him. He looked down and saw a group of children surrounding him, holding copper coins in their hands and looking up at him. Tao Tao, who was chewing on a candied haws, held her stomach and laughed when she saw this scene. The corner of his mouth twitched. Isn't it because of you that this young master went from being a master of a clan to being a seller? Tao Tao covered her mouth and laughed even harder. He rolled his eyes at the sky, then pulled out a few sticks from the stick and bent down to hand them to the children. It's free. I'll give it to you. Looking at his smooth movements, Tao Tao even forgot about the food in her mouth. She always thought that a rich young master like him would disdain dealing with people at the bottom of society. She didn't expect that everything he did would exceed her expectations. How many shining points did this person have that had yet to be discovered? She suddenly felt like she had picked up a treasure and became more determined to subdue him. Higashio Motetsu stood up after sending the children off and felt the strange gaze from this little witch. He raised his eyebrows and crossed his arms. What are you up to now? Tao Tao came back to her senses and laughed mischievously. She waved her hands. Nothing. I'm not thinking of anything. I just think that you're very kind. Kind? He found it very funny. What's that? Can it be eaten? He didn't wait for Tao Tao's reply and continued to walk forward. Tao Tao chased after him. Hey, why did you leave halfway? I suddenly feel like I have nothing to say to you. Humph, you're bullying people again. Too ungentlemanly. Tao Tao pretended to pull his ear. Higashio Motetsu had to avoid the crowd, avoid her hand, and protect the wooden stick. He couldn't use his martial arts and couldn't help but scold her. Stop fooling around. And it was under these circumstances that they reunited with Chu Qingyan and the others. Dong Ting. A joyous voice with the joy of a reunion penetrated the crowd. Higashio Motetsu was stunned. When he confirmed that it wasn't an auditory hallucination, he looked around for the figure. It wasn't until he saw Chu Qingyan in a tea house that his brows relaxed, and he quickly walked over. Tao Tao's hand froze in the air. When she heard that voice, she knew who it was. Just as she was about to look for the person beside her had already walked away with large steps, walking towards the peerless woman with hair as black as ink and a fiery red dress. She wasn't jealous of Chu Qingyan. However, after she had been with Daunting Wanyu for 2 to 3 years, he could still abandon her without even looking back. Did that mean that all these years of companionship had not left a single trace in his heart? As she watched him walk step by step towards the cinnabar mole in her heart, she felt as though he was getting further and further away from her. The sugar-coated haws in her mouth had just broken through the layer of syrup. The sourness of the fruit spread to her heart. It seemed that the leaves had disappeared like the syrup, revealing the truth. She stood rooted to the ground, not knowing where to go. She was at a loss. Higashio Motetsu walked in front of Chu Qingyan and squatted down to greet little Ankong. Hey, little one, you seem to have grown taller. Come, Uncle will treat you to some sugar-coated haws. With that, he took a piece and stuffed it into little Ankong's hand. Little Ankong hugged it and smiled sweetly. Thank you, Daunting Crispy. He patted little Ankong's head before straightening up. He took another piece and handed it to Chu Qingyan. Here, it used to be your favorite. Chu Qingyan didn't stand on ceremony and took a bite. She felt that it tasted pretty good. Is your sect unable to hold on any longer? A dignified palace master coming out to do business? Hearing his good friends teasing, Higashio Motetsu rolled his eyes at her in annoyance. I'm just doing side business. I'm just doing it for fun when I have nothing to do. Oh, Chu Qingyan dragged her voice. She didn't see wrongly the intimate interaction between him and Tao Tao just now. Higashio Motetsu was a little uncomfortable with her dragging out the end of her voice, but he didn't know how to explain himself. The more he tried to explain, the worse it would get, so he decided not to. Why isn't Tao Tao here yet? At this moment, Chu Qingyan looked from afar and asked. Higashio Motetsu followed her gaze and realized that Tao Tao hadn't followed them and was still standing there in a daze. Daunting Crispy, you lost your wife again. Little Ankong took small bites of the sugar-coated haws and criticized him like a little adult. At this moment, Higashio Motetsu didn't listen at all. He looked at the scene in the distance and suddenly widened his eyes. This troublesome girl only knew how to cause trouble for him. His heart moved and his body moved. He stuffed the sugar-coated haws into Hualing's hands, then used his qin gong to pass through the crowd and quickly landed in front of Tao Tao. He reached out and hugged her to the side. With a tap of his feet, the two of them spun and left the place. At this moment, a carriage quickly drove past where the two of them were standing. Tao Tao still didn't understand what had happened. She only felt that her surroundings were filled with his scent, and the place he was hugging was still hot. She looked at him in a daze. Didn't he not want her just now? Why did he come back? However, Higashio Motetsu didn't know what she was thinking at all. He scolded her to her face. Where did your cleverness go? You didn't even see such a big carriage. So many people are calling you. Are you deaf? Tao Tao couldn't listen to anything now. She hugged him and threw herself into his embrace. I'm already like this, and you're still scolding me. Don't you have any pity at all? Her sobbing voice made his heart tremble. For a moment, he didn't know if he should continue speaking or push her away. At this time, Chu Qingyan walked over with some people. Seeing the sugar-coated haws on the ground and the one in Hualing's hands, she immediately understood. She pursed her lips into a smile. It seemed like there was something going on between the two of them, but she shouldn't be concerned about this right now. Chu Qingyan asked in a concerned voice, Is Tao Tao all right? She's probably scared. Higashio Motetsu also forgot to push Tao Tao away as he answered Chu Qingyan. He thought for a bit and said, You guys find a place to sit first. I'll stay with her for a bit and then come find you guys later. Tao Tao secretly raised her head and winked at her. Chu Qingyan looked at Tao Tao and understood. Her face was still calm as she said, All right, then we'll go to the tea house and wait for you guys. You don't need to rush. Take your time. After saying this, she brought little Ankong, Jasper, and Hualing back. From afar, she could still hear Dong Ting reprimanding Tao Tao. You're already so old. Why don't you watch where you're going? Why is it that you look so smart, but at such a crucial moment, you drop the ball? Are you still going to stare blankly on the road in the future? If there's a next time, I won't care about you anymore. Chu Qingyan turned around and saw Dong Ting pulling on her arm, talking endlessly. Perhaps even he didn't notice how nervous he was earlier and how earnest he was now. It was completely different from his usual frivolous self. Chu Qingyan shook her head with a smile, then turned around and continued walking. Chapter 1568. After Chu Qingyan and the rest drank a pot of tea, Dong Ting and Tao Tao finally arrived. Dong Ting was still nagging. Did you remember what I said? Tao Tao had already regained her energy. Hearing him nagging like an old mother, she waved her hand. I know. Hurry up and drink some water. As she spoke, she stuffed the teacup that Chu Qingyan had passed to her into his hands. Then, she shrugged at Chu Qingyan and used her index finger to point at her ear, hinting that she was about to be ravaged to the point of no return. Chu Qingyan felt that the two of them were becoming more and more like quarrelsome lovers. Seeing that she had already said her piece, Higashio Motetsu really sat down and drank his tea, no longer bothering with her. Why are you here? After the two of them sat down, Chu Qingyan threw out her question. Logically speaking, they should be in Sichuan. She remembered that 3 months ago, Dong Ting had sent her a letter saying that he had some matters to attend to in the sect, and had to go on a long journey to settle them. Why were they here now? Higashio Motetsu drank a mouthful of tea to moisten his throat. Then, he put down the teacup and looked at her. In a casual tone, he said, "One gets tired of staying in the same place all the time. I've been working hard for the Moon Palace for the past 2 years. It's time for me to take a break. Otherwise, my old bones won't be able to play in the future." At this moment, little Ankong immediately put down the pastry in his mouth. He reached out his short hand to pat the back of his hand and comforted him. "That won't happen. Dongting Su Su is very young. Even if you're old and can't walk in the future, Kong Kong will take you to play and fly." Higashio Motetsu immediately pulled little Ankong into his arms. With a gratified expression, he pinched his chubby little face. "This young master didn't dote on you for nothing. You're so obedient. In the future, when you come to the Moon Palace, you can play as you wish." If Xuanqi Zimo and the rest of the Moon Palace disciples heard that their master had casually sold them to a little brat, they would probably feel like dying. Chu Qingyan shook her head in amusement. "Don't spoil him. Otherwise, he'll climb over your head and act like a tyrant." Before Higashio Motetsu could answer, Tao Tao spoke first. "Maybe he's a masochist, and he's happy to do it." Higashio Motetsu glared at her. "Go away. You're just a child. Why are you listening to an adult?" Tao Tao made a face at him. Then, as if deliberately going against him, she pulled Kong over and said, "We're all children today, so we won't play with the adults. Come, don't sit on Dongting Susu. Come here with Sister Tao." Xiao Kong cooperated and slipped off the ground. He said to Higashio Motetsu, "Dongting Susu, Kong Kong and Sister Tao went to play." After that, the two of them held hands and ran to the table at the other end, ignoring Higashio Motetsu's face that instantly darkened. Dongting Crispy? Big Sister Tao? Calling him uncle, but calling her sister? Tao Tao, you're really something. Chu Qingyan sipped her tea as she observed the changes in Dongting's emotions. She had an idea in her heart. She smiled gently. "Did you really come here to play?" Retracting his gaze from the two of them, Higashio Motetsu played with his teacup, and his expression became more serious. "Not really. It's mainly because you guys came to this unfamiliar place without saying a word. You even brought Kong Kong along. I'm a little worried. Anyway, I have nothing to do, so I might as well come and see if there's anything you guys need help with." This was the truth. Chu Qingyan nodded. Her gaze landed on Tao Tao as she teased. "So you brought her along to play? I didn't expect you to be so romantic." Higashio Motetsu rolled his eyes. "This girl insisted on following me. I ran a few times, but I don't know how she found out. I seriously suspect that she bribed Zimo and the other brats." Chu Qingyan nodded secretly. She had to subdue the people around him first. This little girl was indeed clever and cute. She could not help but want to be a matchmaker. As a young girl, it's not easy to be so thick-skinned to chase after you. I see that Tao Tao is sincere towards you. Don't you want to consider it?" The teacup in his hand suddenly stopped spinning. In the past, he could resolutely reject this question, but for some reason, he found it difficult to say it now. He frowned. He did not like his state. He put down the teacup and poured himself another cup of tea. When the tea entered his mouth and moistened his dry throat, his reason came back. "What a joke. It's so good to live alone. No one cares about you. You can go wherever you want. The world is so carefree. Why bother to be tied to others?" Chu Qingyan supported her chin with one hand, judging how much truth there was in his words. "It's a little scary for you to look at me like that." Higashio Motetsu touched his arm to see if there were any goosebumps. She was amused by his reaction. "All right, I won't care about you anymore. Anyway, as someone who has been through it, I'll give you a piece of advice. Cherish the people in front of you." Higashio Motetsu opened his mouth to refute her, but he could not help but look at the person on the other side. At this moment, Tao Tao was playing rock-paper-scissors with little Ankong. Both of them were tired from playing. One was drinking tea, while the other was eating pastries. "Tao Tao, when can I eat your and Dongting Su's wedding candy?" Little Ankong asked innocently. Tao Tao leaned on the table with a depressed face. "How would I know?" "You don't know. Your Dongting Su is too hard to chase. I've already chased him for so long. It's okay. Don't be discouraged." Mother said before that sincerity can move metal and stone. Hearing little Ankang's childish voice comforting her, Tao Tao felt that her depression had dissipated. She could not help but kiss him. "You're really a considerate little cotton-padded jacket." No, little cotton-padded jacket refers to a young lady. Bao Bao is a body armor. As he said that, he even made a martial arts gesture, making Tao Tao laugh. "Where are you guys staying now? Why don't you come with us?" Chu Qingyin's question pulled Higashio Motetsu back from his thoughts. He thought about how Tao Tao had been complaining about the bustling city below where they lived. It was noisy all day long, and the words of rejection turned into agreement. "Then it's getting late. Let's go back together." After Chu Qingyin finished speaking, she got up and called her son and Tao Tao over. On the way back, Tao Tao did not know why he suddenly changed his mind and went with Chu Qingyin. While she was muttering in her heart, she heard Higashio Motetsu talking to Hualing. Higashio Motetsu coughed lightly. "Let this young master carry this Tonghulu skewer." Hualing waved his hand disapprovingly. "It's fine. It's not heavy at all." "No, it's too troublesome. We'll do it ourselves." After saying that, Higashio Motetsu directly took it. Hualing did not react at all, and his hands were empty. He really attacked without saying a word. Tao Tao was baffled. Wasn't this person disdainful of this thing just now? Why did his personality change? At this moment, a Tonghulu skewer appeared in front of her eyes. She looked up from his slender fingers, but saw that he did not even look at her as he said, "Don't you like to eat it? Hurry up and eat it." Tao Tao took the Tonghulu skewer, feeling both sweet and troubled. "My goodness, don't you know that eating too much candy will also cause toothache?" Chapter 1569. Jin Xin and his men reclaimed the cities very quickly. In just half a month, they had reclaimed all the surrounding cities. Although they were all small and remote towns, even a fly's leg was meat. The Sunflame sect members who had lost contact with them all rushed over when they heard the news. Originally, there were only a few hundred people, but slowly, there were more than 10,000 people. Although they were currently in a remote area, these movements quickly reached the ears of the Serene Moon sect. They sent a group of people to deal with them. It was also possible that after so many years, the Tranquil Moon sect had been the dominant force and was somewhat arrogant, so they did not think highly of this group of people who suddenly revolted. So they casually sent people who were not Jin Xion's match at all. In these few days, Jin Xion and his men continued to attack. They first dealt with the people sent by the Serene Moon sect, baiting them and numbing them. When they reclaimed the other big cities, they would give them a head-on blow. As Jin Xion's style of doing things became more and more stable, a small moon clan was not a problem at all. So Xiao Su did not interfere anymore, only occasionally giving advice. The rest of the time was spent on sightseeing with his wife and children. Sima Jun liked to join in the fun, while Ji Linyang liked to play the world like a game of chess and doted on his wife. The husband and wife pair followed you wherever you went. So Ji Linyang followed his playful wife to Jin Xion's side, plotting against others while doting on her. As for Xiao Yao, because he was accidentally hit by a ladder while charging into enemy lines last time, he had been using recuperation as an excuse to stay with his brother and sister-in-law. Although Xiao Su disliked him, he still allowed him to follow. Cheng Yinluo naturally followed her good friend, and Ethereal went without saying. Wherever his master went, he would follow. Of course, now that he had one more, he would follow wherever his wife went. So the group changed one town after another. Now, this place was relatively prosperous and was closer to the Serene Moon sect stronghold in the Sun Clan's territory. After staying in the mountains for a month, now that we've come to a bustling place, I can't believe my eyes. Tao Tao stood under the city gate and opened her arms, sighing. Higashio Motetsu walked over, raised his fan, and knocked on her arm. "Watch the road carefully. I'm not a child." Ever since the horse carriage incident, this fellow did not stop. Higashio Motetsu ignored her clamor and carried little Kong on his shoulder. Then he smiled and said, "Let's go. Uncle will bring you to play." Tao Tao could not get angry. She could only stomp her feet and follow. Chu Qingyin shook her head and smiled. Xiao Su's lips curled into a smile. He held her hand and walked up slowly. Seeing this, Cheng Yinluo and Kong Ling also held hands and followed. Bai Yu glanced at him coldly. This servant refuses to make do. This servant will go and accompany the little master. With that, she left without looking back. Xiao Yao felt like a bolt from the blue had struck his head. Had his charm deteriorated? Why couldn't he even handle a little girl? My heart is sad. No one knows my sorrow. Hua Ling patted his shoulder. Lord, take it easy. Be careful not to get lost. With that, Hua Ling strode to catch up with Jasper. Xiao Yao suddenly felt that the couples in front were so hateful. He deepened his conviction that he was alone. He was still alone, free and unrestrained. Long live the single dog. After mentally preparing himself, Xiao Yao decided to eat 3 bowls of rice tonight to soothe his wounded soul. Then, he slowly followed them. At this moment, Cheng Yinluo and Ethereal started arguing. I say, do you think that the girl is pretty? So you took a few more glances? Xiaoyan, listen to my explanation. There's nothing to explain. Any explanation is just a cover-up. Xiaoyan, you can't say that. Then what else do I have to say? I heard that the girls in the Tranquil Moon sect are all immortals, not to mention their sect master. Now that we're here, maybe one of them is from the Tranquil Moon sect. It's not strange if you like them. Xiaoyan, what are you talking about? I just think that her hairpin is pretty and want to see where it's sold. I'll buy one for you. Oh, really? Why would I lie to you? Don't be angry. You should have said so earlier. I wouldn't be angry. Thus, the two of them went from arguing to being sweet. Xiao Yao was dumbfounded. This was too scary. They quarreled and reconciled. He felt that it was better for him to be alone. However, he was interested in the Tranquil Moon sect now. After all, everyone loved beauty. Hualing, what's the situation with the Tranquil Moon sect? Because he was at the front lines previously, he did not know what the rear had gathered. It was normal that he did not know about the Tranquil Moon sect. Hualing was called out and explained seriously. This Tranquil Moon sect is said to be a girl inheriting the position of sect master. A few years ago, this sect changed to a new sect master. She's very young, around 15 or 16 years old. I heard that she's very talented and beautiful. It's just that she's aloof and not easy to get in touch with. She wears a veil all year round. However, her ability to manage the sect is not inferior to outstanding men. So young? It's so infuriating now. Xiao Yao rubbed his chin and was a little surprised. However, for successors, they were groomed from birth. There were many who were outstanding at a young age, so it was not strange. She should be around 18 or 19 years old now. Hua Ling estimated. Xiao Yao shook his head. But she's so young and has done so many heartless things. She's really vicious. Don't let me see her. I'll teach her a lesson. Hua Ling coughed softly. It would be good if Yahweh was not taught a lesson. To be able to sit in this position, how could she be a simple character? Right. What's the name of that Tranquil Moon sect's sect master? I think she's called Gongsun Shui. Xiao Yao rubbed his chin and said, it's a pity about the name. At this time, the flow of people suddenly increased. Xiao Yao avoided a few carriages and turned around. He suddenly did not see Hua Ling, nor did he see his royal brother and sister-in-law. He raised his brows. No way, he was so unlucky. He really got lost? Forget it, forget it. He walked back to take a look. At this time, a masked girl wearing a white brocade dress quickly passed through the sea of people. She walked quickly while holding her chest. Behind the white veil, faint traces of blood could be seen. Quick, she's over there. A death sentence came from behind her. The masked girl frowned. She looked up and decided to walk up. She jumped onto the shoulders of passers-by and prepared to grab the wine flag to fly up to the roof. However, her injuries flared up. She lost her balance and fell down. Xiao Yao, who had just walked to the tavern, heard the screams of passers-by. He subconsciously raised his head and saw a white-clothed fairy descending from the sky. Chapter 1570. Her white dress fluttered in the wind, and her white veil fluttered in the wind. Her beauty was unparalleled. Xiao Yao was stunned. His body reacted faster than his mind, and he reached out to catch the masked woman falling from the sky. He hugged the woman and took a few steps back. The masked woman was the first to react. She coldly ordered, "Let go." Xiao then remembered that men and women should not touch each other. Just as he was about to let go, he heard someone shout, "I see her. She's in front." Looking up, he saw a group of fierce people holding knives and blowing over. Xiao's heart was filled with a heroic feeling of a hero saving a beauty. He grabbed the masked woman's wrist and whispered, "Someone wants to harm you? Don't be afraid. I'll protect you." As he spoke, he took the masked woman to the side of an alley. The masked woman did not know whether he was a friend or foe. She struggled to break free. "Let go of me. Otherwise, I won't be polite." Xiao paid attention to the movements of the pursuers while preventing her from breaking free. "You're just a weak woman. You're no match for them. Don't worry, I'll protect you." The masked woman could not break free and gave up. She sneered in her heart. If she was not injured, these people would not be a problem at all. After turning here and there, she still could not shake off those people. Xiao was a little surprised and could not help but ask, "Did you kill someone or set fire to it? Why are these people chasing you so tightly? If you're afraid, then let go." Xiao sneered. Why was his beauty so cold? The masked woman thought that he had let go and was ready to escape. She thought that people were all like this. She did not expect that he would bend down and pick her up. He flew up a tree and used the leaves to hide his body. In order to hide better, Xiao shielded her in his arms. In other words, she was hugged by him. Their posture was very ambiguous. Although Xiao usually seemed to be a womanizer, it was just an act. Even now, he was trying to save someone, so he did not think of this layer. For the masked woman, besides the restaurant, this was the first time she had such intimate contact with a man. She raised her palm and was about to slap him. Xiao seemed to have expected this. He moved his finger slightly and pressed on her acupuncture point. The veiled woman was fixed in place, unable to move. She narrowed her eyes slightly. If looks could kill, Xiao would have died countless times. Xiao sensed the cold beauty's hostile gaze and felt extremely wronged. As he observed the intersection, he explained, "I'm not thinking about our safety. If you had cooperated, I wouldn't have sealed your acupoints." The masked woman didn't feel like looking at him. She closed her eyes as if she didn't want to see him. Xiao rubbed his nose. It couldn't be, right? Was he being ignored just like that? In any case, he wasn't bad looking. He was on the list of handsome men in the capital city. However, at this moment, the assassin who had been chasing her passed by. He immediately put on a serious face and covered the masked woman's mouth with one hand. The masked woman suddenly opened her eyes and stared at Xiao. Didn't he touch her blood? Why did he cover her mouth? However, Xiao didn't know anything. He stared at the people below and saw that they couldn't find anyone after searching for a while before leaving in a hurry. He let out a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to relax, he heard a series of footsteps. He saw a group of people chasing after him from the entrance of the alley. However, these people were all women. They were wearing blue and white clothes, and their expressions were flustered. He felt extremely curious. He lowered his head to look at the person in his arms and laughed softly. "I didn't expect you to have so many enemies." Wave after wave came. Fortunately, I was quick-witted. The veiled woman didn't want to pay attention to him at all. She stared at the people below and tried her best to break through her acupoints. However, she didn't know how this person had sealed her acupoints. She circulated her energy for a long time, but her acupoints were not unsealed. Instead, her injuries worsened. She could only watch as the women returned empty-handed. The veiled woman turned to look at the boastful person. This idiot. Those people were here to save her. After being messed with like this, she didn't know how to find them. Xiao felt her burning gaze and thought that she was thanking him. He couldn't help but wave his hand. "I can't thank you enough. I'll send you down first." After waiting for a while, Xiao felt that those people wouldn't come back. He reached out his hand and brought her to the ground. When he let go of her, he unsealed her acupoints. No matter how indifferent she was usually, the veiled woman couldn't help but slap Xiao's face. Xiao who was still immensely pleased with himself, didn't expect this at all. He didn't have time to react and was hit directly. He covered his face and stared at the ice beauty in a daze. He asked foolishly, "Why did you hit me? Despicable, vulgar, shameless." The ice beauty's lips parted slightly. There was no emotion in her voice, but one could hear her anger. Huh? Xiao felt wronged. He was kind enough to save someone, but he was treated as a lecher. He felt even more wronged than Do-yi. He moved his lips, wanting to explain something. However, the other party had already turned around, as if she didn't want to look at him again. The ice beauty clutched her chest. She had used too much strength just now, and her injuries were probably worse. She had to find a place to treat them. She walked in the direction she came from. Xiao covered his face as he watched the person gradually walk away. He had a stomach full of bitterness. He had never been wronged like this before. In any case, he was handsome and elegant. He was a good youth with high moral values. He didn't need to bully a girl. He wanted to go up and explain, but he was afraid that this person wouldn't let him explain and would slap him again. Wouldn't that be too embarrassing? However, what happened next didn't make him feel conflicted, because the ice beauty fell down while walking. He immediately walked up and squatted beside the ice beauty. He reached out his hand to check her breathing. When he found that she had only fainted, he was relieved. Then he sighed, "I offended you this time because I wanted to save you. Don't hit me indiscriminately again." With that, he reached out his hands and picked up the ice beauty. He lowered his head to take a look. She was so quiet that she looked like an otherworldly fairy. However, now wasn't the time to admire the beauty. He had to find his royal brother and the others first. When he came out of the alley, he heard someone calling him. When he turned his head, he met his royal sister-in-law's incredulous gaze. "Second brother, although this isn't our Sichuan, it's still against the law to kidnap a girl. You can't do anything against the law. Otherwise, you're royal brother, and I won't be able to save you," Chu Qingyan advised seriously. Xiao looked at the person in his arms. He felt that he wouldn't be able to clear his name even if he jumped into the Yellow River. It was fine if it was just a misunderstanding, but his royal sister-in-law who had known him for so many years also said the same thing. Was he really that bad? Why don't he just find a piece of tofu and kill himself? Chapter 1571. Cheng Yinluo placed her fingers on the ice beauty's hand and quietly felt her pulse. Did something happen to him? Xiao asked with an uncertain expression. Chu Qingyan looked at her impatient brother and couldn't help but smile. This was the first time she had seen him so anxious. At this moment, Xiao Su said calmly, "Brother, be quiet." Only then did Xiao shut up, not daring to interrupt Cheng Yinluo's examination. After a moment, Cheng Yinluo retracted her hand and looked serious. She said to everyone, "This girl was hit by a palm. It's not serious, but her lungs have been damaged. She needs to recuperate for a while, but what?" Chu Qingyan asked on Xiao's behalf, as he had been ordered to keep his mouth shut by the ice cube. Cheng Yinluo thought for a moment and chose her words carefully. "She has other illnesses. When I checked her pulse just now, I found that her pulse was very abnormal. It seems like she's been poisoned, but it doesn't seem like it." "Huh? What's going on?" Xiao couldn't help but ask. "I've studied medicine for so many years, but I've never seen such an illness. However, I can tell that this illness has been around for many years. Perhaps she was born with it. Will it endanger her life?" This was what Xiao was concerned about. "I'm not sure." Cheng Yinluo shook her head, looking helpless. Everyone was surprised by Cheng Yinluo's words. Her medical skills were undeniable. If even she couldn't tell, then they could only wait for Ethereal. Unexpectedly, Ethereal returned with the medicine. Yinluo explained the situation to him in detail. He went to check the girl's pulse without hesitation, but his conclusion was the same as Yinluo's. "Let's treat her injuries for now. We'll talk about the rest when she wakes up. Perhaps she knows her own condition," Ethereal suggested. Everyone looked at Xiao, waiting for him to make a decision. Xiao was still immersed in the conversation. When he sensed everyone's gaze on him, he couldn't help but take 2 steps back. "Why are you all looking at me like that? You're the one who brought her back. You're responsible. Xiao Su strode out. Chu Qingyan nodded. A hero saves a damsel in distress, so it's only right to send the damsel in distress. After saying that, she followed Xiao Su and left. Sheng Yin Luo had already written down the prescription. She walked over and handed it to Xiao Yao. I'll apply the ointment for her external injuries later. Brew the medicine according to this prescription. Boil 5 bowls of water into 3 bowls of water, then another bowl of water. Take it 3 times a day after meals. Don't forget. Without waiting for Xiao Yao's response, she left with ethereal to concoct medicine. Xiao Yao looked at the prescription in his hand and then looked at the person on the bed. He felt like he had shot himself in the foot. In the end, he could only resign himself to fate and go out to brew the medicine. 2 hours later, Xiao Yao returned with a bowl of medicine in his hands. Just as he walked to the bedside, he remembered that this person was unconscious. How could he feed him medicine? What a headache. He thought for a moment and sat down. Seeing that her face was still covered with a veil, he thought that he should take it off first and then help her up. However, just as he stretched out his hand, the person who had her eyes closed suddenly opened them. She reached out and threw a punch at his face. Xiao Yao was too close to her and was hit squarely. He fell to the ground with his back facing the sky, and the bowl of medicine in his hand flew out. The ice beauty sat up and looked coldly at the person lying on the ground. However, Xiao Yao reacted first. He didn't blame her for hitting him, but looked at the spilled medicine on the ground. He raised a trembling hand and pointed at her with a mournful face. It wasn't easy for me to brew it, and you spilled it just like that. It's my first time brewing medicine, and it wasn't easy for me to. Only now did the ice beauty see clearly that it was medicine on the ground. She also heard clearly that it was prepared for her. She pursed her lips and realized that the wounds on her body had been treated. Her clothes were clean and neat. This person was also sincerely wailing about the medicine on the ground. Only then did she understand that he wasn't trying to take advantage of her. However, after many years of being in a high position, she had developed a temper that wasn't good at expressing her emotions. An apology was hovering in her throat, but she couldn't say it. In the end, she coughed lightly and said in a gentle tone, "I was too agitated." Xiao Yao was still immersed in the grief of losing the medicine. "My medicine." The ice beauty looked at him coldly. "I'll get someone to compensate you next time." Xiao Yao turned around and glanced at her. This was originally brewed for her. He sighed deeply and then remembered that he was still sitting on the ground. Then he connected the dots and realized that the culprit of all this was this innocent-looking girl in front of him. He wondered what exactly he had picked up and brought back. Just as he stood up, he felt an incomparable pain on his face. He touched it and found that his nose was bleeding. He sighed again. Who did he offend? "I'll get someone to compensate you." The ice beauty spoke again. This time, it was to compensate him for attacking her. Xiao Yao rolled his eyes and pointed at his face. "I'm so handsome and confident. I look like a noble young master with an extraordinary background. Do you think I'm someone who lacks money? You can't judge a book by its cover." The ice beauty recalled that he had made a move on her twice and had a very bad impression of him. Xiao Yao felt that he would be angered to death by her. He was a prince of a country, but in front of her, he was nothing. How could he face the people of Sichuan? If he was given a mirror and saw his current appearance, he probably wouldn't think so. "Miss, why are you so heartless? In any case, I saved you. It's fine if you don't appreciate it, but first you slapped me and then punched me. Are you repaying kindness with enmity? Although you did save me, I didn't ask you for help. Everything was your own decision." Xiao Yao was so angry that he laughed. The demeanor that he usually maintained cracked. "Miss, if I didn't help you, do you think you would still be lying here? Maybe you would have been caught by your enemies." Speaking of this, she was angry in her heart. If it weren't for him, she would have already met with her subordinates. How could she still be here listening to his nonsense? "Why don't you speak? Are you in the wrong?" Xiao Yao saw that she just looked at him for a long time without speaking and couldn't help but ask. The ice beauty felt that he was too talkative and really didn't want to talk to him. Xiao Yao saw that she didn't respond, so she lay down with her back facing him and covered herself with a quilt. She looked like she didn't want to talk to him. Xiao Yao felt like he really wanted to find a piece of tofu and kill himself. Otherwise, how could he meet such a difficult person? After all, he was a man with a strong stomach. He couldn't argue with her, so he took a deep breath and kicked the pillar next to him before walking out. As soon as he walked out, he couldn't help but want to hug his leg. The kick just now was too painful. Chapter 1572. Just as he walked out, Xiao Yao was stopped by Huo Ling, who was waiting outside. He said that his royal brother had something to ask him. Xiao Yao immediately suppressed the urge to hug his leg and acted as if nothing had happened. Did Big Brother say what it was? Huo Ling shook his head and looked like he wanted to say something. Second young master, what happened to your face? How'd he get injured after not seeing him for a while? Xiao Yao moved his face and hissed. It really did hurt, but he did not show it on his face. He calmly said, "It's nothing. I was stung by a bee. There's no helping it. There are too many insects here." What a joke. If people knew that he was beaten by a girl, his royal sister-in-law, and the others would laugh at him for a year. He was not that stupid. So it's like that. Huo Ling clearly did not believe him. Let's go. Don't make Big Brother wait too long. Xiao Yao walked forward. Huo Ling followed behind. Looking at his back, he was confused. Why was Lord's leg also crippled? How strange. When they reached the hall, Xiao Yao found that other than Higashio Motetsu and Tao Tao, everyone else was there. He could not help but walk in confusion. Little fan, how did you become like this? Father Chu, who had arrived at the city behind him, opened his mouth wide when he saw him. Xiao Yao touched his face. The old man really touched a sore spot. These words successfully attracted everyone's attention to Xiao Yao. Even Xiao Su could not help but ask what happened. Xiao Yao was too embarrassed to say it, and made up an excuse to brush it off. Father Chu's eyes widened. You hit a pillar when you're so old? Are you blind? That's right, he was blind. That was why he picked up a cold tigress that could hit people. Seeing that Xiao Yao was really embarrassed, Chu Qingyan threw out the main topic of today's discussion to draw everyone's attention. Jin Xin just sent a letter saying that they have brought people close to the Tranquil Moon Sect stronghold in the Sun Clan. He told us to be careful because they might start fighting at any time. The Emperor Emeritus stroked his beard and said approvingly, "Granddaughter-in-law, Jin Xin is very capable. In time, he will definitely shine brightly. He's not like second brother, who can't do anything serious and always runs away at the last minute." Xiao Yao had wanted to say that he had escaped a calamity, but he didn't expect his imperial grandfather to change the topic to him. Ever since his last conversation with his imperial grandfather had been finding fault with him in every aspect. Who exactly did he offend? Chu Qingyan felt that it was funny, but she still had to continue talking about serious matters. The Tranquil Moon Sect should have already started to pay attention to this, so you guys should be careful not to expose your identities when you go out. But don't worry too much, just be yourself. This Tranquil Moon Sect is really too arrogant. They didn't take Jin Xin seriously at the start. Now that 1/3 of their cities have been lost without a sound, they're starting to panic. It can be seen that those in power are not smart people. If it was in our Sichuan, they would have been dealt with long ago. Xiao Yao shook his head, expressing his disdain. The Emperor Emeritus glanced at him, his gaze full of disdain. You say it as if a fool like you can kill someone with a slap. Xiao Yao wanted to cry, but had no tears. Imperial grandfather, can we still talk properly? Father Chu added fuel to the fire. Who asked you to abandon Jin Xin halfway and come back by yourself? No need to explain. We all know that you came back for the sake of coming back. You greedy and lazy little fan. Xiao Yao wanted to spit out a mouthful of blood. Was it really because he was injured? Don't accuse me like this. He could only look at his imperial brother with tears in his eyes, hoping that his imperial brother would speak up for him. However, Xiao Su did speak up, but it was about another matter. What is the background of the girl you saved today? Xiao Yao was stunned for a moment before recalling this incident. I saved this person on the road. She was chased by a group of people. After I saved her, she fainted. I haven't asked her about her identity yet. Xiao Su said indifferently. We are near the Tranquil Moon Sect stronghold, and it is a critical period now. You'd better not casually bring someone of unknown background back. Do things more carefully. Xiao Yao felt that his imperial brother's words made sense, but he still wanted to defend himself. I don't think that girl is a bad person. She just has a cold temper. She didn't ask me to save her. I was the one who took the initiative to help. In the end, I also took the initiative to bring her back. I think there shouldn't be any problems. Xiao Su raised his eyebrows. You really think so? Xiao Yao thought for a moment. Although this person beat him up twice, he didn't look like a bad person, so he still nodded in the end. Xiao Su didn't say anything else. Instead, he instructed Huoling to tell Water Spirit to check on this girl's background. Imperial brother, is there anything else? Xiao Yao asked. Xiao Su crossed his arms and looked at him. What do you want to do? Xiao Yao rubbed his nose and said unnaturally, I just remembered that I knocked over that girl's medicine. I still need to brew it again. If I don't do it now, it will be late soon. These words caused everyone to look at him ambiguously. Chu Qingyan, this second brother, seems to be overly attentive to that girl. Grand Emperor, this guy must have eaten the wrong medicine. Father Chu, little Fan is a little abnormal today. I have to stay away from him. Ethereal, there's a situation. Cheng Yanluo, agree. Huoling, agree. The corner of Xiao Yao's mouth twitched. Didn't he ask him to brew the medicine? Why did everyone have such an expression now? He was simply suffering in silence, unable to voice out his bitterness. Xiao Su waved his hand and magnanimously let him go. The Grand Emperor and Father Chu also agreed to go out to play. Mother Chu was worried and followed them. Only Xiao Su and his wife, Ethereal, Cheng Yanluo, and Huoling were left in the hall. Chu Qingyan asked, Can you tell how that woman's injuries were caused? Cheng Yanluo nodded. She was hit from the front. It's clear that the other party wanted to take her life directly. However, she was smart enough to avoid being hit in the vitals. There were a few sword wounds on her body, but they weren't serious. She fainted because she lost too much blood. Ethereal continued. When this subordinate checked her pulse, I found that this girl's inner strength wasn't low. However, she seemed to have consumed the cultivation dissipation powder before she was injured. Some of her inner strength dissipated. Perhaps that's why she was successfully ambushed. In just a few sentences, the Ice Beauty's injury was reconstructed. If she was present, she would definitely be amazed by the two's abilities. However, we're very ashamed that we couldn't find any other ailments in that girl's body. Cheng Yanluo apologized. Chu Qingyan waved her hand and said, Medicine is broad and profound. It's normal to encounter things that you don't know. Then she added, However, if it's an ordinary dispute, it's not a problem to take this girl in. However, it's better to be safe than sorry. We still have to observe her for a while. Chu Qingyan's words were approved by everyone. Huoling, send people to guard the entire courtyard. If there's any movement, report it immediately. Xiao Su directly ordered. Yes. Huoling accepted the order. Chapter 1573. 2 hours later, Xiao Yao returned to the Ice Beauty's room with a bowl of medicine in his hand. At this moment, Cheng Yanluo was in the room. Cheng Yanluo turned around and smiled at Xiao Yao when she heard the commotion. I'm here to check on this lady's injuries. Xiao Yao nodded. However, when his gaze landed on the person sitting on the bed, it was as if he was frozen in place. So this was what she looked like under the veil. Her black, jade-like hair draped over her shoulders. Her slender eyebrows were like willows. Her beautiful eyes were fixed on him. Her skin was as fair as snow, and her lips were slightly red. It reminded him of a poem used by the ancients to describe beauties. Her skin was creamy and delicate, like the light of silk and the flexibility of reeds. One ice snow beauty. Her indifferent temperament made people feel that talking to her was an offense. When Xiao Yao came in just now, the Ice Beauty had turned her head along with Cheng Yanluo. At this moment, she saw this person staring at her in a daze. It wasn't like the lustful gazes that people usually gave her, but more like pure admiration. However, she still didn't like being stared at like this, so she couldn't help but frown. Cheng Yanluo coughed a few times, and Xiao Yao finally regained his composure. He scolded himself in his heart. He was, after all, a handsome wastrel who had seen all kinds of beauties in the world. How could he have been bewitched by this ice-cold woman? He must have hit her in the head as well, not only on her shoulder, but also on her head the last time. Xiao recovered and walked over. Is her injury all right? Cheng Yinluo nodded. The external injuries aren't serious. She'll be fine after some treatment. She stood up. Miss Sun, I won't disturb you from taking your medicine. If you need anything, you can call for me. Thank you, Miss Yinluo. The ice beauty nodded. After Cheng Yinluo left, Xiao came to a realization. So your surname is Sunday. The ice beauty looked at him indifferently. Sun Shui. That's my name. No wonder she was so cold. She was indeed like the snow in winter. My name is Xiao. You can call me by my name. Xiao casually pulled over a chair beside her bed and sat down. Then, he handed the bowl of medicine to her and said, I brewed the medicine for you again. Drink it while it's hot. The ice beauty glanced at him and then at the black medicine. She couldn't help but frown. Can I ask someone else to help me brew the medicine? Xiao's face instantly darkened. It turned out that she was complaining that he didn't brew the medicine well. He snorted lightly. Then there's no other way. Everyone is busy right now. No one has time to brew medicine for you. What a joke. He couldn't possibly ask his sister-in-law to come over and help, right? His imperial brother was the first to come over and beat him up. He was a crazy wife protector. Moreover, he had spent so much time researching how to stay up late. If she didn't drink it, wouldn't all his efforts go to waste? The ice beauty looked at the medicine and could only compromise. She took it and drank it. As expected, it was too disgusting, but she still drank it expressionlessly. Xiao was just about to take out the candy, but when he saw her drink it without frowning, he really wanted to stick out his thumb and give her a thumbs up. She was really a heroine. The ice beauty looked at the candy in his hand and raised her eyebrows. I don't eat sweets when taking medicine. Xiao resentfully retracted his hand. This ice beauty was really hard to please. By the way, why are you being hunted down? Did you offend someone? He remembered the important matter. His imperial brother and the others had mentioned it before, so he should also ask. The ice beauty's hand that was about to put down the bowl paused. She turned to look at him. I choose not to answer. Oh, she was still a stubborn person. Xiao calmed his emotions and tried to raise a smile. Don't worry, I'm not a bad person. It's just that you, a girl, have provoked such a big enemy. I have good intentions. In case your injuries are not healed and your enemies come looking for you again, I won't be able to help you. So, you can tell me what happened. If you owe someone money or met a bad person, maybe I can help you solve the problem. The ice beauty looked at him suspiciously. Xiao felt her coldness and doubt and immediately expressed his attitude. Don't worry, I saved you, so it's even more impossible for me to hurt you. That's hard to say. After all, you can't judge a book by its cover. The ice beauty said indifferently. If it wasn't because she was betrayed by her own people, she wouldn't have ended up like this. She couldn't even trust the people close to her, let alone this person who she had only met twice. The woman in front of him had an aura that kept people at 1,000 miles away. It wasn't that he didn't know how to behave. Perhaps the other party had something that was difficult to say, so he took a step back. Well, since you don't want to say, then I won't ask. By the way, there's something I don't know if you know. What's the matter? We found out that in addition to external and internal injuries, you also have an unknown illness. Xiao repeated the words that Yinluo had said in ethereal to her. When he spoke, he also paid attention to her expression. However, she was as cold as ever, so he couldn't tell what she was thinking. In fact, she was shocked in her heart. It was just that she hadn't smiled for a long time, so she was able to maintain her composure. She didn't expect that in such a small place, there would be such a skilled doctor. According to Xiao's words, the woman who had treated her just now was one of them. She was so young that it was unbelievable. Her illness was also discovered by the clan's genius doctor 3 years ago. Unfortunately, there was no way to cure it until now. They could only temporarily suppress it. She didn't know if she could find a cure if she stayed here. Do your doctors have a way? Perhaps she was too calm, so Xiao couldn't figure out what she was thinking at this time. He could only tell the truth. There's no way at the moment, but their medical skills are very good. They have saved many people who had one foot in the door of hell. So your illness, as long as they're given some time, they may be able to find the cure. At this time, she was injured and couldn't leave alone. After thinking about it, she could only agree to his suggestion to recuperate and see if they could find any clues about her illness. Seeing that her expression eased, Xiao was relieved. However, he had a little plan in his heart. I picked you up. If you have any problems in the future, just come to me. The others have things to do, so they won't pay attention to you. Xiao deliberately left the others aside, showing that she was alone and helpless here. If she didn't rely on him, she might not be able to survive. Picked up? The ice beauty narrowed her eyes, revealing a dangerous aura. If she wasn't seriously injured, she could break his neck with one hand. You talk big. It's over, I said the wrong thing. Xiao was a little annoyed. He was usually eloquent, so why did he say something insincerely when it came to her? He coughed a few times. Well, I'll go see if there's anything to eat in the kitchen. I'll make some for you. After saying that, he slipped away as if there was oil on the soles of his feet. The ice beauty looked at his back and snorted. Chapter 1574. These few days, everything was calm and tranquil. Jean Xin continued to win. Chu Qingyin and Xiao Su often stayed together to play chess, drink tea, and take care of the baby. Their days were very sweet and carefree. Cheng Luo and Ethereal stayed to study medicinal herbs and prescriptions from time to time. Their days were also very comfortable. Higashio Motetsu and Tao Tao often went out for a stroll and quarreled occasionally. Everyone was used to it. Chu Qingyin's parents were still very loving. The retired emperor often looked for Chu Qingyin's father to learn from each other and fight over his great-grandchildren. Life was also very pleasant. Only Xiao was very irritable these 2 days, as if he had eaten a firecracker. I told you not to move around because of your injury, but you didn't listen. Do you not take your body seriously? Xiao's voice could often be heard in the Ice Beauty's room. However, it wasn't a roar, but rather he was so angry that he couldn't help but lower his voice. He always felt that this Ice Beauty was like a pile of snow. A loud voice would shake her away. He was about to stomp his feet in anger, but the Ice Beauty still looked calm. I naturally take my body seriously, but you have no right to interfere with my freedom. Xiao took a deep breath. After calming his anger, he tried to speak in a normal tone. I know, but it's not suitable for you to go out now. I just want to sit at the door. Seeing that he couldn't persuade her, Xiao gave up. If he didn't agree, she would naturally do whatever she wanted when he wasn't around. Considering her safety, he finally compromised. All right, I'll arrange it for you. With that, he turned around and ordered people to move a table and chairs to the courtyard. Then, he borrowed Jasper from his sister-in-law to help her. As soon as Jasper left, Chu Qingyin put down a chess piece. She supported her face with one hand and tilted her head slightly to play with the long hair that fell in front of her chest. She had a strange expression on her face. Big ice block. Do you realize that second brother is too concerned about this girl of unknown origin? He's a bit out of line. Xiao Su pondered for a moment, then followed up with a chess piece. He's a warm-hearted person, and he's also someone who has tender feelings for women. Chu Qingyin couldn't help but laugh. He's your brother after all. Be careful that he doesn't hear you talking about him like that. So what if you hear me? Xiao Su smiled. She shook her head. As expected, kind people get bullied. Poor Xiao. Don't you think that someone else is bullying him? Xiao Su raised his eyebrows. Chu Qingyin thought for a moment and suddenly understood. Then do you think he has a chance with this Ice Beauty? Xiao Su sneered. It's a scene where you get bullied. Are you planning to leave him in the lurch? She leaned over to look at him, a sly glint in her eyes. Xiao Su looked into her eyes and reached out to brush away the strands of hair in front of her forehead. He smiled lightly. I think he's immersed in the land of gentleness and is enjoying himself. Why would he need us to save him? The big ice cube was using his beauty to seduce her again. She had to remain calm and not fall in his trap so easily. But I don't think this is a land of gentleness, but a land of ice and snow. Xiao Su shook his head. You're not a fish. How can you know the joy of fish? Oh, do you understand? Or, Chu Qingyan suddenly narrowed her eyes. I think that lady is as beautiful as a flower and has a generous bearing. Do you think that I'm old and not as beautiful as I used to be? Xiao Su didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Where did this little fellow come up with such a conclusion? He had never seen what that lady looked like, but it was a rare sight to see this little fellow jealous. It was really a pleasant surprise. He reached out to lift her up and hold her on his lap. Her petite body fit perfectly in his embrace. He held her shoulders and said in a magnetic and low voice, Do you have so little confidence in yourself? Just a moment ago, he was saying those words, but now he was hugging her. She didn't know who had spoiled him. Oh no, she had spoiled him. Confidence is not something you have, but something you both build. She puffed out her cheeks. You know that everyone else in front of me looks the same whether they're round or flat, but only you are the most unique in my eyes. In this world, there is no one else that I like more than you. You're more stunning. Xiao Su pinched her nose and said with a chuckle, but every word came from the bottom of his heart. Chu Qingyan felt that she was thinking too much. The person in front of her still doted on her as before, but she didn't know why. Recently, she just wanted to get angry. Her mood was sometimes anxious and sometimes irritable. She suddenly felt that she couldn't recognize herself. So she gave up and said, Isn't there a saying that feelings are like tea? The longer it is brewed, the weaker it becomes. We've known each other for at least 7 years. Do you know the 7-year itch between husband and wife? Because of the dull rules of love or marriage, you feel bored and have reached the stage of burnout. It's very likely that you're tired of me now, but you just haven't noticed it yet. Xiao Su had never seen her so dejected before. He was a little surprised. Their life was not very harmonious recently. So how could this little fellow have such a misunderstanding about him? Xiao Su suddenly realized the seriousness of the matter. It was clearly fine just now, so why was the little fellow so dejected? He felt that if this matter was not resolved immediately, it would have a certain impact on their lives. He swept away his previous expression and became very serious. He put his hands on her shoulders, making her look at him, and said in a serious tone, I don't understand the 7-year that you're talking about, and I don't want to know. In my opinion, the feelings between you and me are not like tea, which will fade with the passage of time. On the contrary, I feel that time is precipitating our feelings, just like wine, which will become mellow and rich with time. Wine? She looked back at him deeply. Is that right? It's wine and not tea? Xiao Su seemed to have seen through her thoughts, and his voice became gentle. Yes, it's wine. I've never liked to use anything to describe the feelings between us, but since you have to use something to prove it, I think it's the most appropriate. He pulled her back into his embrace. I will love you for the rest of my life, care for you, and use the rest of my life to accompany you, not letting you suffer the slightest bit of harm. What we could do now is to live every day well and not waste the rest of our lives. This is the best way for us to stay together. Holding hands, growing old together, not wasting a single moment. Even if they did nothing, quietly staring at each other, was the interpretation of love. Chu Qingyan suddenly thought it through. She felt that she was being too unreasonable. She clearly knew what he was thinking, yet she still wanted him to make promises again and again. To think that he was willing to accompany her time and time again. She was extremely moved. She wanted to say something to him, but suddenly felt her stomach churning. I want to vomit. Xiao Su had just made a passionate confession, and the little fellow had to say that she wanted to vomit. Xiao Su's entire face darkened. However, the little fellow really did vomit. Chapter 1575. As soon as Chu Qingyan vomited, Xiao Su panicked. He quickly held her waist and patted her back. What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? After vomiting for a while, Chu Qingyan leaned into his arms. Her face was pale. She shook her head. Don't worry, I'm fine. Maybe I ate something wrong today or caught a cold in my stomach. I'll be fine after drinking some hot water. As soon as she said that, her stomach churned again. She couldn't care less about comforting Big Ice Cube, who was panicking because of her, and started vomiting again. Xiao Su didn't dare to rest assured. He asked someone to send Ethereal and Yinluo to her while he helped her up and checked her pulse. 2 years ago, when she was pregnant with Kong In, he had learned a few pulse reading skills from Ethereal to ensure that both mother and son were safe. He didn't expect that would come in handy today. He wanted to see what was wrong with her. Ethereal and the others hadn't arrived yet, but Chu Qingyan obeyed him and extended her hand to him. She looked like she had nothing left to live for. Xiao Su placed his fingers on her wrist and tried to calm down. However, when he felt the fluctuation of her pulse, he was stunned. He turned to look at the little one in disbelief. Chu Qingyan had no strength in her body. She seemed to have vomited everything in her stomach and was now recovering. Seeing his reaction, her heart skipped a beat. Could it be that she had some incurable disease? Big Ice Cube, what's wrong with me? Actually, she wanted to ask him what was wrong. Xiao Su didn't answer her. Instead, he checked her pulse again. This time, he was more careful than before. Chu Qingyan looked at the sweat dripping from his forehead and her heart tightened. However, she forced herself to support herself and took out a handkerchief to wipe his sweat. She pretended to be calm and comforted him. It's okay. If there's really a problem, there's still Ethereal and Yinluo. Don't worry. Yes, there's still Ethereal and Yinluo. I have to let them see if you're pregnant again. Why aren't they here yet? Xiao Su immediately looked at the door. What? He had a body? She had already prepared herself for some incurable disease. But Big Ice Cube's words completely stunned her. She subconsciously grabbed his arm and asked foolishly, I have a body? Big Ice Cube, are you saying that I'm pregnant? Xiao Su held her hand and tried to calm down, but he could not hide the surprise in his eyes. I'm not sure. I have to wait for Ethereal and the others to see it. The two of them looked at each other with joy in their eyes. Even if it was a misdiagnosis, it was just an empty joy. There would be plenty of chances in the future. However, if it was diagnosed, then in their lives, another crystallization of love would be born, and they would have another adorable baby. Therefore, Chu Qingyan and Xiao Su had the same thought. Why isn't he here yet? Ethereal and Cheng Yinluo were in the pharmacy, discussing medical books. When Hualing called for help, they thought that something big had happened. They threw down their books and rushed over without stopping. When they arrived at the courtyard, they saw Chu Qingyan's ghastly pale face. They were shocked and hurriedly put their hands on her. Although they did not know why the two of them were looking at them with shining eyes, they had the same thought. Please don't let anything happen to this little ancestor. Otherwise, this cold-faced Yama might tear this place down. However, after the two of them calmed down and took her pulse, their eyes lit up at the same time. They looked at each other, then at Chu Qingyan. They stood up tacitly and cupped their hands to congratulate the two soon-to-be parents. Congratulations, Your Highness. The little princess consort Qingyan is pregnant. When the Emperor Emeritus, Father Chu, and Mother Chu heard that Chu Qingyan was unwell, Xiao Su hurriedly called Ethereal and Yinluo over. Thinking that something big had happened, they immediately rushed over. Coincidentally, when they reached the entrance of the courtyard, they heard the two of them congratulating each other. Everyone was stunned at first, but when they reacted, they were simply ecstatic. The Emperor Emeritus. I'm going to be a great-grandfather again. Good, good, good. Father Chu. I'm going to have a grandson again. Good, good, good. Mother Chu. I'm going to be a grandmother again. Good, good, good. Little An Kong, who had followed them over, was at a loss. What was a pregnancy? Was it candy? Once his guess was confirmed, Xiao Su felt that the ground under his feet was as light as cotton. Chu Qingyan grabbed his sleeve with both hands and leaned into his embrace, crying tears of joy. Big Ice Cube. Kong Kong is going to have a younger brother or sister. Xiao Su caressed her head, his eyes slightly moist. Yes, we're going to have a child again. In the past, before he met the little fellow, he had always thought that he would be alone for the rest of his life. He had never thought that one day he would have a lover and have many children. He hugged the treasure of his life and thanked the gift of life once again. At this moment, little Ankong walked past the Emperor Emeritus and the others with his short legs and walked in front of his parents. When he saw that his mother's face was not as rosy as before, he asked his father worriedly, "Is mother sick?" Xiao Su carried him up and placed him on his knees, his voice gentle as he said, "Your mother isn't sick, but let me tell you a piece of good news. You're going to be an older brother in the future." Older brother? Little Ankong's eyes lit up like the stars at night, sparkling. Chu Qingyin smiled and nodded. "Yes, you'll have a younger brother or sister next year." Little Ankong was so happy that he stomped his feet and spun around on the spot, looking extremely adorable. Then, he asked, "Why can't I see it next year? Can't I see it now?" Chu Qingyin kissed little Ankong's cheek, her face full of love. "That's because your younger brother or sister is still in mother's stomach. You'll have to wait a few months for it to be ready before it can be born." Little Ankong nodded as if he understood, then said happily, "Although I'll have to wait for a long time, I'm willing to wait for it to come out." With that, little Ankong placed his hand on his mother's stomach, and his expression became serious. "You have to be obedient inside. Older brother will wait for you to come out. Older brother will give you toys to play with and take you out to see the mountains and rivers. You have to come out early." Hearing her son speak so seriously, she was worried that little Ankong would not be able to accept the existence of this child. She did not expect him to be so sensible. He was clearly only a 2-year-old child. Chu Qingyin and Xiao Su looked at each other, their hands clasped, and saw the gratification in each other's eyes. Although they were not ready to welcome a new life, they were extremely happy and looked forward to the arrival of this new life. "Looks like I'll have to start preparing for the little princess consort's next 9 months again," Ethereal said to his wife. Cheng Yin Luo smiled. "I'll accompany you this time. Speaking of which, when are we going to have a child too?" Ethereal looked at her master's sweet family of 3 and was a little tempted. Cheng Yin Luo snorted. "I'll see how hard you work." Ethereal's eyes lit up when she heard that. "Then I'll work hard tonight." Cheng Yin Luo was instantly speechless. She did not seem to mean that. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.